properly. Remember, yellow, hit yellow. Hello, citizens. How is it going? Welcome. This is our end of season review for the 2021-2022 season. And we're going to be going through the players and our highlights of the season. I'm just going to jump straight in. This is Stephen with me. He's a City fan, as you can see. We've already established that in the last half an hour. And yeah, let's jump in. So we're going to start off with Edison. And yeah, this is what we got with our boy. So what do you think of Edison's season so far? I mean, a lot of people, like I was saying to you earlier, actually, that a lot of people don't think he's a good goalkeeper.
Yeah. And I was saying to you that I disagree. I think he's not an elite shot stopper. I think he's not the top level with his hands. I agree with that part. But I don't think there's a better goalkeeper in the world for us.
Well, I think in terms of how Pep wants to play, like I was saying, Pep likes centre midfielders and that role, you know, and I did mention as well that Yaya Toure would be a perfect goalkeeper for us right now, you know, with his range of passing. But, I mean, I agree that I don't think he's a good shot stopper. I think his ability to run out, though, and close the angles down, you know, one-on-one situations, I always expect him to get beat.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Because he doesn't act like a goalkeeper in those situations. He acts almost like a sweeper. He runs out and he tries to make a tackle like a defender would, rather than you see sort of Alisson or Bendy or someone like that. They charge out, but then they close the angles and they try and delay. Edison doesn't delay. It's all or nothing. He goes in 100%. If he catches him, he catches him. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
It was terrifying for me. Do you remember the Champions League final against Chelsea when he came running out when they scored?
Yeah.
And he comes running out, but he's got his elbows here so he doesn't handball it and gets sent off. That's kind of every image I have of like Edison in my head when he runs out to make a save or block. It's that Chelsea moment where you think to yourself, just don't touch it. Just don't do anything, because if you get sent off, the next person coming in is just as bad. You know, so I mean, do we need a proper goalkeeper going forward?
I don't think so. I'd say we possibly need a better second keeper. I think Edison's dipped a little bit this year. Still think he's good enough. I'd still keep him. I don't want to replace him. But maybe he's got too comfortable. Maybe there's not enough of a challenge behind him, pushing him on. Someone to keep him right on the edge. Or maybe someone coming in behind him who can push.
I mean, who would you look at signing, though? Like, would you bring someone up from the youth team just to...
Well, there's a couple out on loan, isn't there? Is it?
Oh yeah.
He's what's the lad at Bolt? Is it?
Oh, I'm not very sure. I know
there's a couple of young lads, but I don't know if they're ready. You don't know if they're ready. You got to remember that you could have an injury, or we could just need that second goalkeeper to come in and play for a few games at some point. So do you necessarily want a youngster, no experience, eye on?
Well, I mean, if you look at Edison's stats here, he's conceded 41 in 51. And I'm not saying they're all his fault. And that, to be fair, that's not a lot of goals to concede. But I mean, if you look at our defence, I know as soon as the ball gets past that defence, that goalkeeper is probably not going to stop anything.
Did also share the Golden Glove this year with Alisson, who is supposedly the greatest goalkeeper in the world. So,
but is that down to Edison or is that down to the defence?
Well, sure, it's both.
I'm putting it down to the amount of possession that we have win that Golden Glove. Because we're controlling them games.
We give less chances away.
Yeah, but every chance seems to go in.
Alisson's got Van Dijk in front of him as well, so it's not like he's making all the saves.
You know, I don't really rate that Van Dijk, but that's for another video. I mean, I don't rate him that highly.
That's very controversial. That's definitely another video.
I think he got shown up against Real Madrid a little bit. I think when it comes push to shove, I don't think he's a good defender. But
we'll leave that there.
After pissing all the Liverpool fans off in the video, they've been and gone. In terms of Edison, I mean, I think you're right. I don't think he's a good shot stopper, but in terms of what Pep wants and the way we play, I don't think there's a better keeper in the world. Maybe Neuer would have been a few years ago. Because I think
but I think Edison's better than him with his feet.
Well, I think he is better.
Ridiculously good.
He's terrifying though, isn't he? Because if you look at that Liverpool FA Cup game, Jesus Christ, not the cup game, the League game, when he kicks it off the line, and then you look at Zach Steffen, who tried it in the FA Cup and completely failed.
Yeah, felt for him there.
So Edison is actually really important to us, but I mean, how would you rate his season in terms of like, if you're going to give him a score?
It's a difficult one. Like I say, he has shared the Golden Glove, but there is a general feeling that he's dipped slightly. So I think it's 7. It's 7 out of 10. I think he's not as good as he has been the past few years. There's a little bit of room for improvement there, but I don't want to replace him at all.
No, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I've been a bit critical of him, but I don't see how we could replace him. It's like you said, that his passing and everything. I mean, remember that goal against Tottenham last season? Not season just gone, but the one before, Gundogan. When he whips it over the top. I want to see him do more with that, because he did it a few years ago for Aguero against Huddersfield, I think it was.
But we haven't had a striker for the.
Well, that's the thing. But you look at Haaland coming in with his power, his pace, and you look at the balls over the top. Does that just change everything?
I think it gives him another option. Edison playing gives him an option when he's looking up. He knows that he's got someone physical there who he can play it up to, who should be able to hold it up.
I will say, the last few months of the season have been really tough for the players, obviously. And I remember that Burnley game when we started playing the long ball. Started playing the long ball a lot more. And I said at the time, I think I said that it was practice for the Atletico Madrid game, because we knew they were going to sit deep and we are going to try something different rather than just pass through them. And I think Haaland and Edison and Alvarez, when he comes in, because he's got pace as well, I think that's kind of a different dimension of how we're going to play. And I think Pep can use that, because you can't be offsides from goal kicks anymore. No. And Edison's got I think he's got the world record for the longest goal kick.
Yeah, he has. I also think part of the reason is, other teams, other managers learn and adapt to us. And I think once that, we'd scored a few goals. I remember not just Gundo against Tottenham, but Aguero did it against Arsenal. There was a few times where we played the ball like that. And I think teams have sort of caught onto it a little bit. They don't push out as much, or they're just a bit more aware, dropping off a bit quicker. So it's not always on, but like I say, with Haaland coming in, hopefully, another. So all in all, Edison, a little bit of room for improvement.
Oh, it's a good season for you.
Reasonable season, yes. Beautiful
passer of the ball. That's what we're going to say. So going on from Edison, we got Zach Steffen. And for me, now this might sound a bit harsh, but I've said all season, I'm going to be consistent with it. He terrifies me when he comes in. And the reason he terrifies me is because I've not seen anything from him. It proves to me he can replace Edison or stand in for him. Because if you look at a couple of years, when we got beat by Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final, just before the Champions League, I think Steffen was at fault for that goal because he was way out of position. I don't know if you forgot where the goal was or anything. I remember the goal quite clearly. It comes in and he's past the post almost when the cross comes in, and it was just a simple goal for them to score. And you look at the Liverpool game in the FA Cup, it's a bit harsh because he tried to do what Edison does, hold onto the ball, try and pass it out. And of course that's Pep's fault because Pep's telling him to do that. But he hasn't got the composure. I don't think he's got the skill set to do it. And it just looks a lot more unnatural. When Edison does it, everyone's heart stops but Edison's, because Edison's are not beaten. Edison doesn't have a beating habit.
That's exactly it. I do agree with you on this one. But when
Steffen does it, it's like his heart's beating faster than everyone else's. It just looks unnatural.
You can see that he's trying to process everything. He's trying to think, what should I be doing now? Pep's told him what he needs to be doing. He's trying to do all that rather than it coming natural like it does with Edison. But yeah, I agree with you. It does terrify me. He's not, especially with the ball at his feet. I think when he comes in, if he does have to play, Pep should adjust. Pep should adjust the defence. Tell them he's not going to be able to play how Edison plays. So we need to get the ball out. Don't let him mess around with it basically in the 6-yard box. I don't see him as a long-term solution. I think he's a good number 2, but I don't think he's good enough.
Well, it plays him in the cup games, doesn't it? And I've got to say, I've not really been impressed with him there either, because I think he was at fault for the Chelsea. I'm not going to blame him for the Liverpool game, because the Liverpool game, that first half was shocking. The whole defence were bad. And we got tore apart. Yeah. We got absolutely tore apart in that first half. And we were lucky to go in just 3-0 down, if I'm honest. His goal just kind of summed up the half for me. So I'm not going to blame him entirely for that.
I mean, the goal was his fault. He should have just...
Yeah, the goal was his fault, but the game...
It
was done by then anyway.
Yeah, there was a lot more going on in that game.
I can't blame him for that. That's the whole team's mentality, that. And I think because Pep had changed it quite a bit, ready for the Atletico Madrid game. So I still think Pep kind of threw that game away for the Atletico Madrid Champions League tie, which I can understand a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's not worked out, has it? But as for Steffen, for me, rating-wise, I mean, what did you give Edison? Was it 7?
7.
I can't give Steffen a 7.
No, I wouldn't either.
I can't give him a 7, but I think it'd be harsh to give him 5, because at the same time, he doesn't get the same game time. He's not playing week in, week out. Maybe I'm being a bit critical. Because I see him in
I think that
1 minute stints over 3 months.
I think that matters less. Goalkeeper.
I think
other players, outfield positions, need bit more regular game time. They need a few more minutes. They need to get used to the teammates around them. I think it's slightly less with a goalkeeper. I think it doesn't matter as much. Maybe I'm wrong, but just my opinion.
The thing is, I'm in my head as well. I've just realised I'm rating Stefan on his passing and his kicking and not his shot stopping. That's how daft this has just gotten, because I've just realised that my thoughts on Ederson and Stefan don't actually think about the gloves. And how stupid is that?
We discussed it on it with Ederson, but yeah.
And Stefan again, though, I don't.
But that's how we play. That's what our goalkeeper needs to do. So,
well, again, if I'm looking at shot stopping, remember when we played Swindon, we beat them 4-1. They scored that goal that went through them at the near post, and I was like, how have you let that in? You know, so again, I can't give him a 7. I think I'm just going to give him a 5. I'm just going to give him a standard set 5, and not because I think he's had a bad season. Which, by the way, I think he's had some bad moments, but I just don't think
it's hard to judge, isn't it? Hard to judge.
I can't.
You don't see enough of them.
Exactly, I can't judge him on one game every 3 months. You know, but I do think I'd like a better goalkeeper as number 2. Because I can accept that Ederson ain't going to shot stop anything. He ain't going to save many. Pretty much every shot on target is going to go in. But because what he does for the rest of the team, you know, the way he sprays the ball out right, left, and his passing, it never goes awry.
It's ridiculous.
Even when he miskicks it, it seems to go to the right player.
He plays passes sometimes that De Bruyne would be proud of.
Honestly, I don't think he has a heart. I don't think it beats. Because that Liverpool one scared me to death at the ground. Like, I remember it. And yet, no one else cared. Like, he didn't care. He was like, whatever, move on with my day. So I'm going to give Stefan a 5. So that moves us on from goalkeepers, because, you know, Carson didn't play this season, I don't think.
He made an appearance, didn't he?
I thought that was the season beforehand when we played Newcastle, beaten 4-3. Because I didn't think Scott Carson was still there.
Scott Carson gets a 10 anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Let's just brush over that.
Scott Carson, best goalkeeper.
He might get an 11.
Well, the thing is, Scott Carson is probably our best actual goalkeeper.
Yeah, with his hands, without doubt.
I haven't seen him with his feet. And he's got another Premier League medal, so, you know, more than Stevie Gerrard. So, yeah, moving on to defence. So we're going to...
for the Liverpool fan.
I apologise, but, you know. So moving on, Kyle Walker then. I'll let you take over from Kyle, see what you say.
Kyle is, as got proven at the end of the season, is pretty much indispensable.
Is, yeah.
Indispensable. Because his pace... Because we push up so high, because we play such a high line and we keep so much possession, and 9 times out of 10, other teams' goals are counter-attacking goals. Indispensable. I don't think there's anyone else in our team who can do what Kyle does. No,
the thing about Walker for me is that his pace is so valuable. Like, I hear a lot of people say that he's not a good defender and it's just his pace, but when he doesn't play, I fear for us every single match.
The biggest thing I can say about Walker is when he was at Tottenham, I thought, it's all right. He's a decent player. He's a Premier League level player. You know, he's good and he's very quick. But I didn't think he was world class. I didn't think he was an elite player. Since he's come to City, what Pep's got out of him, for me, one of the best right backs in the world.
But you've got to say, he's probably the only natural fullback that we have, which is ridiculous as well.
It's the only natural fullback. Yeah.
So when he doesn't play, like you said, I mean, that position, that right back and left back position the last couple of years has been shocking for us. Walker's been the only consistent, and when I heard he was out for the rest of the season, I feared that league. I was like, we're done. Like, I don't see how we win this, because, and it's shown in the Aston Villa first half, you know, how invaluable he would have been, because
against Madrid.
Yeah,
Fernandinho playing at right back.
Fernandinho, I still don't understand why he didn't clatter him. I just don't get it.
The one time he didn't foul somebody. That's what Fernandinho does.
I don't get it, but I mean,
because he was a Brazilian teammate.
Yeah, probably. We can get onto that. But I mean, for Walker, for me, as well, when you look at how high we push up, we're always sat in the halfway line. The only person who's going to catch them players is Walker. Yeah. And look at, I mean, even when he plays, he's not going to stop Adama Traore running through and scoring 2 shots, you know. Wow. But for me, if we had a left back with his pace, I think we'd be pretty much unstoppable.
I think, because generally we end up with one full-back pushing on anyway. That's not natural for Walker. He'll get forward, but he's not got that creativity of Cancelo or even Zinchenko. He's not natural with the ball, really. It's more pace and power. So I think the fact that he sits off a bit, lets the other full-back go on, perfect balance.
I'll tell you what I do love about Walker, though. When he does bomb on, when he whips the ball across, he doesn't cross it. He doesn't float it. He just smashes it across the floor.
And also, when he does bomb on, he bombs on.
Yeah.
It's not a half-hearted attempt. There's no slow build-up. It's 100 miles an hour.
He hits the byline. Yeah. He hits the byline every time. And he's got energy. He gets up and down the pitch all game as well. And I think he's very, very important to how we play. And I don't think we're the same team without him. I really don't. And
one of the first names on the team sheet, definitely.
Oh, yeah, for me, easily. I think in back four, I think I'm picking him ahead of anyone else in the back four. Even Ruben.
I would go, if I was giving him a rating for this season, I'd be tempted to go really high, 9 or 10. But there's one little detail I hold against it. Red card.
Oh, it's stupid, wasn't it?
It was the stupidest red card
it's like in the 93rd minute
I've ever seen in my life. In my whole life watching football, it's the stupidest. I don't know what the guy said to him or what he did, but...
I mean, calling it stupid, we had Balotelli for a while.
Well, yeah.
That's we saw some stupid red cards there too.
But yeah, that red card.
I remember Pep after the game saying how mad he was at him because there was no need for it. And
there was no need for it. There was no...
Game's won, it's over.
The game was won. It wasn't a dangerous game. There was nothing going
Injury
on.
time.
The guy was over at the side of the pitch and he cleaned him out. He just completely cleaned him out. So yeah, I'll knock a little point off just for that. Apart from that...
I don't think that cost us, though, did it, really, looking back?
Did it or didn't it? Because he was suspended then, wasn't he?
He was, but I don't think it cost us too much because I think even if we didn't have him, we should have still beat Atletico. We should have beat Real Madrid, really. We were better than Real Madrid over both games.
We should have, but maybe we would have conceded less goals in that first
We would have played Fernandinho at right back.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, I mean, I see what you're saying because I thought we lost that tie in the first leg.
We did, yeah, that...
I don't care about the 5 minutes in their ground. That can happen. But the first leg, we should have been 4 clear. And the defence let me down massively there. So Walker, 9 or 10 or 8?
I'll go 9. I'll go 9. I won't hold it too much against him.
I mean, that's one of the best players of the season then.
I'm not as pessimistic as you. I like to give praise.
Yeah. I mean, I think Walker, for me, in the defence, I put him on the team sheet first. Yeah, exactly. Because I think we need him. And I don't think... Because no one else going backward is as good as him. The one thing I don't like about Walker, and again, you might not always see it on TV, but at the ground you definitely see it, is that when he's challenging in the air, he sometimes won't jump, he'll sometimes just put his body in the way, and if they win the header, anything can happen from
so, he's physical as well, though. He's physical.
But another thing that he always does is that when the ball is coming over the top, and he's tracking, I don't know, Luis Diaz or something, and the ball's going towards them, he'll let them get the ball first before using his pace to get back. So he always lets the attacker run at him rather than make the first decision. And that kind of irritates me a little bit because I'm thinking if you just like preempt it and if you go for be a bit more aggressive, you could get there first and this danger doesn't even happen. But he lets the attacker get the ball first. And again, it's not something you're always going to see on TV, but at the ground.
But maybe
I see it all the time.
The thing with not jumping for the headers, like I said, I don't think that's just him. I think that's the way we're coached because I see other players doing the same thing. So
yeah, but flick on. Look at that Villa game again.
Yeah. So I think that's something we do for some strange reason, which I don't understand at all.
And we've got some top players at the back as well. They should be jumping for that ball.
Yeah. But I think with regards to when he challenges or when he doesn't, maybe it's just a case of he knows no one's going to beat him for pace. No one's going to outrun him. So confident in him. In letting them have the ball and then dealing with it. And I think, to be honest with you, one-on-one very rarely does it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But again, is that just down to his pace or his defending?
Pace does get him out of trouble a lot of time, but he's so strong.
I mean, at 32, that pace as well.
And I think positionally he's not that bad. He gets in the right places, get in between the player and the ball a lot of the time.
Well, like I said, I think he's the only natural fullback we've got. So yeah, Walker for me.
You think I'm a bit generous there, do you?
Well, Walker for me, it's tough to say again because really the most memorable thing I've got of him is his injury and how much we missed him.
Right.
So remembering for the rest of the season, I mean, I have to give him at least an 8. I could probably push to a 9, but I can't really think of any specific moment in the season where I thought, man, Walker was so good there. But I do also think he was probably our best player. I think he was so underrated that season we won it. You know, when Gundogan scored all them goals?
Yeah.
Walker was so important for that second half of the season as well. And Walker doesn't get as much credit as he deserves.
I think you kind of answered your own question a little bit there. Saying like you can't remember anything stand out he did. But you also said when he got injured, realised we missed him so much. You realised all of a sudden there's a gap there.
No, it's true. Like, I mean, in fact, that brings us quite nicely, actually. So Walker, for me, I'm going to give an 8. And the one I'm going to go and move on to next is Cancelo, which I think is going to be a little bit divisive because for me, Cancelo cannot defend.
No, he's not great defensively.
It made me laugh so much when you hear people say, oh, because I even heard it in a video the other day. Someone rated him and put him in the left back position for the best left back in the league. And I was like, how? He can't defend?
I've seen a few teams of the season where he has got in as left back, and yeah, defensively he's not great. He's not terrible, but he's not great. But you know what he does going forward. That attracts all the attention.
Yeah, going forward, he's phenomenal. Like his passing's incredible. Like that outside of the boot, assist for Sterling, which for me was probably the best assist of the season. But I know De Bruyne got it for the Villa one. Obviously, but I think that Cancelo one was better.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
And actually, Sterling scored a goal, which was amazing in itself. But when you look at, it's a bit harsh. But if you look at Cancelo, for me, defensively, he's so poor. And I know it's harsh again.
You're being a bit harsh. I don't think he's...
No, I know it's a bit harsh
terrible,
because he's also not a left back.
Right.
So when you put him on the left, he's tackling with his right foot, which is obviously not going to work out well. So I get that as well. He was better on the right, I think.
I thought he had his best spell at left back, to be honest.
Going forward, he did.
Month.
But going backward, he didn't.
Yeah. It was that month, though, wasn't it? Was it sort of November, December time?
Christmas time, yeah.
When he was basically player of the month, wasn't he? He got a few assists and he was everywhere, but it was all going for him.
The only thing, my most critical thing about Zhao is that when he goes for it, he's so good on the ball. Like he'll go past the play, he drops his shoulder, like that Newcastle goal. It was really good. He went past 2 plays, he sat one of them down on their ass, smashes it into the top corner. But the problem for me during the amount of shots he has, he should be hitting the target more. He should be scoring more goals. He's had the most shots.
One of the few players in our team who will shoot from outside the box.
But he's had the most shots, I think, of anyone in the Premier League or up there. Definitely in our team. And he scores some 2 goals. I think he needs to do better doing that. And I think his decision making when he gets into the final third can be poor sometimes. He shoots at the wrong time. He passes to the wrong person. But again, his quality of delivery at times is so good. Like the United game when he scored that own goal, that was his. I think the Bernardo goal was his assist as well. I think they were both his crosses, you know?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. The first one was the Bailey on goal.
Yeah, one was his left foot, one was his right foot, you know? And obviously, we just said he's got the outside of the boot as well. So he can do it all, but I don't want to see him a left back again. I want to see him pushed up a little bit.
My problem with Cancelo, my main problem with him, he overplays in the wrong areas of the pitch.
I can see that.
He's technically great and got all the passes, like you say, he can inside, outside the foot, everything. But he does it in the wrong areas sometimes for me. He does it when we're pushed back or teams are putting a bit of pressure on. He'll be trying to overplay. And I just, that worries me sometimes. We get caught. He brings unnecessary pressure onto the defence sometimes.
I know what you mean, because so many times he drops his shoulder in our third, and you're like, what are you doing? Yeah. You got 2 players around you, you try and drop your shoulder at the edge of the box.
Yeah, or he'll be clear of one of their players, and he'll turn back the other way, and you think, what are you doing? No, keep going.
I always put that down to maybe he's on his right foot, though, so he kind of
tries to come in the pitch. Yeah.
And obviously, that's not his fault. We didn't have a left back, so we needed him there. So, I mean, rating his season, I mean, again, I'm going to have to give him a 9 or something, because in terms of defensive, he's actually been one of the most consistent players in terms of his position, in terms of playing week in, week out. He's played a lot this season, Cancelo. Yeah. I don't know how many games. Let's have a look at how many games he's played, because I think he's played a ton. He's played 57 games this season. He's only scored 3, which is what I was saying, but he's got 11 assists.
That's pretty damn good.
And if we look at Walker, and if you give Walker a 9 or something, Walker's only played 35 games. He's played, that says it all, really, for me.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought it'd be such a big...
Yeah, and Diaz played 44. So Cancelo's played a lot of football. So I can't drop him down from a 9 because, again, he's played pretty much every game. He's played 36 Premier League games. He's played 9 in the Champions League. He's actually got more goals in the Champions League than the Premier League. And he's played in the Community Shield, of course. FA Cup, played every game there. League Cup as well. He's been essential for what we need to do.
I suppose the reason he's played more games is because he plays left back and right back.
Yeah, but we've also got Aki who can play left back.
I just mean that Walker doesn't have another position to play in, so it's not as if Walker was covering other people. He only ever plays right back.
Well, this is why I think we need a left back, because you can't keep relying. If Walker gets injured again, what if Cancelo got injured as well at the end of the season? We were in big trouble. Yeah, big trouble.
I think you've been slightly. You're saying a 9. I would have said an 8. I think he's had a good level. He had that 1 month where he was phenomenally good. He's not made any big mistakes.
No.
So
I mean, poor defending for that Villa first goal.
Yeah. You've got that Villa game stuck in your head.
Do you know, as soon as I said it, I thought everything's Villa. It's because I've watched them highlights so many times. They're ingrained in me so much.
No, I'd go an 8. I wouldn't go as high as a 9. I just think
he's earned some holiday though.
Yeah, he's blatantly earned it. But like you were saying about Walker, how we missed him when he's not in the team, I feel like we could get by. If it was Walker and Zinchenko playing, I feel like we'd get by.
All right, well, then let's move on to Zinchenko then, since you mentioned him, because Zinchenko, for me, has had an up and down season. He's only played 30 games. That's what he's played this season.
That's a lot of games. Not a regular start.
To be fair, I don't know how many of them are subs, it doesn't say, but I imagine quite a few are subs.
I mean, with everything that's going on outside of football in his life, I think
he's handled himself really well.
You can understand why he's had an up and down season.
I think his press conferences have been good. I know they've been emotional, but you'd expect that, you know.
I think that first couple of games when he came in, he made a substitute appearance and he came in for one game. It was just after everything started kicking off. You could see it had affected him. He was a bit wobbly, but like the last few games of the season he played, I mean, Villa, when he last game of the season, Villa changed the game. Him and Gundo changed the game.
If Zinchenko hadn't come on at half time, Fernandinho was still on that pitch, I don't think we win that game.
Oh, probably.
I don't think we do.
We'd probably concede another one if Fernandinho was still on that pitch.
I don't think we. And his assist for the second from Rodri as well when he went past this man. He's sitting down. I think he went past Cash. You know. But against Zinchenko, he's not a left back, is he? He's a left winger.
Well, he's a midfielder, isn't he? He's a midfielder by trade.
And this is the thing we've got. So we'll get into it a little bit later on, actually, because I want to mention it. But it's another massive problem for us, left back.
Well, we've not had a proper left back for 2 years, basically.
Even longer, if you ask me, to be honest with you.
Maybe longer, yeah. Yeah, it's a problem position. It's definitely a problem position.
So if you look at the fact that Zinchenko's not a left back, and that's where he only plays for us, you know, and he's not got height, he's not got pace.
I think when he does play, he gets targeted. Notice that.
That West Ham game, the second to last game of the season, like you said, every long ball was aimed at him. Yeah. Because like you said, you got Antonio on him. And
it always is. Even Liverpool did it when we played against Liverpool. They targeted him. You know, most teams do.
I would do the same, to be fair.
Despite the fact I don't think he's, again, similar to Cancelo, I don't think he's not great defensively, but he's not terrible.
And obviously Pep puts him in because going forward
on the ball he's very calm, yeah. And the fact that he is a midfielder, he can push up further into midfield quite comfortably.
That's a bit poor though, and he's not scored for us this season.
Got a terrible shot. You know, his shots. You see his shots.
I think the only goal he scored was that Burton game, wasn't it? I think was it 9-0 or something.
I think that was a deflection as well, wasn't it?
Because I remember them asking him, did you mean him? Don't ask.
The cross, wasn't it? The long
yeah, don't ask me that.
Yeah. No, he's not got a good shot. Not surprised by that. But he got a few assists though. He's got a decent left.
Okay. So I mean, where would you rate his season though?
It's a tough one. But off the field issues, I'll give him a 10 for dealing with all that. On the field, I mean, he's been basically second choice.
Yeah.
But he's been steady. I'd give him a 7.
Again, it's tough, isn't it, when you're only seeing him every now and then? Yeah. You're not seeing him week in, week out.
I'd give him a 7. He's never going to be top level left back. Never going to be. But does exactly what we ask him to do. And he never complains.
Yeah, no, he gets on with it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll quite happily give him.
And I think you can say that about the whole team, actually. They just get on with it.
Pretty much.
You
don't hear... No, we're not United. You don't hear a different story in the paper every week.
No. Are we going to sign Pogba? Actually, that later. Yeah, so for Zinchenko, for me, off the field, 10, obviously. I think he's done himself really well. I think at the end of the season, when he put the Ukrainian flag on the trophy, you could see how much it meant to him and stuff. And obviously, that's taken a lot of the narrative as well.
Yeah.
But on the pitch... Like I said, I think he's been up and down. I think he's had some good moments. He's had some bad moments, but he wasn't. I'd give him a 7, I think. I think a 7. But it's tough again, because like I said, he's coming in and out of the season. You know, he's mainly playing cup games with the odd Premier League when we need him. Yeah. And where does that leave us next? I mean, well, we've got Aki. Let's talk about Aki, actually. So for me, he's actually played 30 games. So I'll tell you what, there's some good numbers in this defence. So for me, Aki, I think he was phenomenal against Liverpool twice.
Yeah.
I thought he was really, really good. I will say I've been massively critical of him because I've always said he's not our standard. He's not our level. As a backup, yeah, maybe. But first team, he's not going to get in that fit.
Well, I think that's primarily why he was bought as a backup.
Yeah,
I think
right.
as a backup to Laporte, basically. And I think he is good enough for that. I agree with you with the ball at his feet, which is the most important thing in a Pep Guardiola team, is with the ball at your feet. I don't think he is at our level. I don't think he's passing. I don't think
he's not going to get ahead of Laporte.
He's not calm enough on the ball. No, not a chance is he getting. Laporte is our best defender. But when he came in, played extremely well. And he is, I'd say, he's second behind Diaz in our centre half for being an out-and-out defender. He will throw himself in front of shots. He will put his head in. He'll block things.
He's so physical, isn't he?
He's a beast physically. He loves a tackle. So in that respect, he's more of a traditional defender than what Pep likes, I'd say.
I think he's had a good season, Ake. Again, he's only played 14 games in the league, and some of that's going to be subs. But I think he's been really, really good. Like I said, Liverpool, he really impressed me. Even that 3-2 defeat in the Cup, when we were 3-0 down at half-time, I think without him, in that centre-half, I think, was it him and Stones? It would have been so much worse, because them two held that team together, because the rest were awful.
That was probably his best game.
I think Ake was so good when he came in, and he got his goal against Leeds. He got 2 goals against Leeds. I think both his goals in the Premier League were against Leeds. Yeah, so
one was in the
7-0, and the other one was the 4-0 at their ground.
Okay.
So Ake, I think he's had a good season.
He's a threat in the air from corners, set pieces.
He's a big guy.
He's a threat in the air.
And like I said, with Diaz,
he attacks the ball properly. Him and Diaz attack the ball. Something that I feel like Stones doesn't do enough of in their box.
Yeah, Diaz at that back post is always winning it, isn't he? He's so strong. Yeah. He's a winner. And I think Ake, when he stepped in, like I said, I've been overcritical of him, but I think he's done really well. I've been impressed with him this season, and I was a bit too harsh saying that he doesn't fit our level, but as a backup, and I was surprised that Pep didn't play him at left back that, more last game of the season as well.
I was surprised by that, yeah.
Or even put him instead of Fernandinho at centre half.
Well, they kept saying he wasn't fully fit.
He's on the bench.
But yeah, he was on the bench, so if he's fit enough for the bench, he should be fit enough to play. Yeah. I think he's proved more than a good backup, because when he came into the team, formed.
Yeah, I think he's one of our best players.
That is, yes, that's what you want from a backup. When they actually are called upon to do the job.
So for his season, I'm going to rate him maybe a 7.
I think I'd go an 8.
Well, I was tempted to go with an 8. I really was. Because I think he's had a good Champions League campaign as well. I
think just when he was called upon, he did the job.
No, you're right. I mean, I can't fault him. I mean, again, he's done nothing wrong all season. Right. And when he stepped in, he's been physical, he's been commanding, and he has really played well. Like I said, the ball may not be good when he's got it with his feet, but in the air, I expect him to win it every time, no matter who he's against, and I know he's going to fight for it. So yeah, I mean, 7 or an 8. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. Ake's had a good season. So which centre half do I do first?
On the left, do Laporte.
All right, Laporte it is. Where'd you rate him? He's played 52 games. He's played a lot as well this season.
I think he's been our main defender basically this season.
I was just about to ask you, do you think he's been the most important defender for us this season?
Well, out of the centre halves, definitely. Said before, Walker is. Yeah, because obviously of Diaz's injury, he went out for a few games. Stones always picks up a niggle here and there. Misses a game or two. Like I said a minute ago, I think playing out from the back, he's our best defender. Ball at his feet, he pushes into midfield. When teams are sat really, really deep, he'll push really high up. Sometimes he's 25 yards from their goal. The ball at his feet, and he's just trying to drag them out, trying to commit defenders. And I think he's one of, if not he completed the most passes basically. He is a linchpin basically. The ball, he's one of those players that the ball just rotates around him. Rodri out on the left hand side there. Yeah, I think he gets a little bit of hate sometimes because he's made a couple of mistakes.
Defending's been suspect at times.
Possibly, yeah, but
Well, you got to ask, who do we sign defensively that defends?
But I think, yeah, exactly. This is the thing, like we said before, the most important thing for a Pep Guardiola player, it doesn't matter if you're playing in goal, it doesn't matter if you're playing centre half, you've got to be a ball player, you've got to play with the ball. So sometimes I think some of our defensive problems, most of our defensive problems, are probably more down to how we play, the system we play, the actual play.
I think it's the lack of pace.
They're put in, that doesn't help. But they're put in situations where they're generally one-on-one or they're racing back towards goal in like a panic situation, you know?
I'd love to know how many goals we conceded this season where it was just one defender and one attacker. You know, where, like I said, everyone's been pushed up to the halfway line and there's only Laporte or Diaz going backward and Edison's just isolated.
I mean, I personally, I'd give Laporte a pretty high mark, probably an 8 or a 9, because I think he's been the linchpin of that defence. Diaz, obviously, his leadership qualities, I mean, he's come in.
Who do you think we'd miss more, Laporte or Diaz?
Hard to say because we've not had a run of them both together for a lot. If we get a full season out of them both, possibly see. I think you remember that season when Laporte did his ACL.
Yeah,
he was gone for the full season basically, and that was.
So it's Laporte's fault, is what you're saying?
It had a big impact on us. I think it had a huge impact on him not being there. So now, yeah, we've got Aki, we've got Diaz, so we've got cover now. We didn't have the cover back then. But I think he's the linchpin. Him and Diaz would be my first choice.
You see it as well all the time, you know, when we are pushing up to the halfway line and we are controlling possession, every time the ball gets to the back foot, it goes through him. So he's the one that's passing it forward and wherever it's going. He doesn't give it Diaz who passes forward. Diaz gives it him.
Yes.
Walker gives it him. Zinchenko gives it him and then he'll spray it forward wherever he's going.
Yeah, he's perfect for our team.
Yeah, I mean, I got no problems with him. I think he's...
I think possibly what turned a couple of fans off him a little bit was that whole thing of him maybe not being happy and wanting to leave because he wasn't getting games. You know, not what you want to hear, is it? You want to hear players. You want to see players just buckle down and fight, like Stones did when he was out of the team for a long time. Everyone was basically writing him off and fought his way back. You want to see players like that rather than say, "Oh, start complaining and maybe think of it." So I think that tarnished him a little bit. But for me, yeah, he's.
What did you rate him? Was it
say an 8 or a 9? I'm going to say a 9. I'm going to say a 9.
9 for Laporte. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to argue with that. Like I said, I think he's so important to us, and I think if we'd lost him along with Diaz towards the end, I don't even know where we'd be at. And I do think, like I said, on the ball, I think he's probably our best ball-playing defender. I think he's really good. And I just think he probably commands the defence more than you think he does. You know, even when Diaz is there and Diaz is controlling who's going where and what position everyone's taking up and how far we're pushing, I bet Laporte has a huge say in it, and I bet he's a big...
You know, Diaz is more vocal, isn't he?
Yeah.
You see him patting people, you see him shouting, you see him calling. So I think you see that more. I think Laporte's quieter, just sort of does his job.
Let's not forget as well, there was a moment, was it the Leeds game? I think it was the Leeds game. Was it Leeds? When they broke and it was Laporte who got his foot in to block it over the bar.
Yeah.
And that was a massive moment in the game.
Yeah.
Because that could have seen them come back in, and the way he just threw his body on the line. So, like, he's not got the pace, and his recovery might not always be there, but defensively, you know, he does have his moments, and I do think it's quite important. And I think if we weren't pushing up to the halfway line the whole time, you know, you might see more of him, you might see him play better.
It's a risky strategy. How we play is... Pep knows the risks.
And we get punished week in, week out.
He knows the risks. That's how he chooses to play.
That's on game.
He'll risk it because he believes it's the right way to play, and who argue with him.
Yeah, so, I mean, Laporte for me, it's hard to argue against him now. So let's move on to Johnny Boy then.
Johnny Boulders.
So actually, I think John's one of my favourite players.
He's one of my favourite characters.
I love him. I think he's great. When we first signed him, I thought he was brilliant. The funny thing is, since we've signed him, you know, because when he was playing for Everton, he used to always step out with the ball. He used to make runs into the... I remember him taking the piss out of us in the cup. Like, you know, when we beat Everton in the semi-final, he'd run at our defence. Suddenly, he'd go from their half to ours with the ball. And you're like, what are you doing? And he's in our box with it. But since we've signed him, he doesn't do that, which is odd. Because he is a ball-playing defender. He's kind of Pep's, like, PK kind of player. Yeah. You know, but Pep doesn't want him doing that. And it's really odd. And obviously, he's played a lot of different positions this season. He's played at right back. Though sometimes I go defensive
I
mid.
think he did a reasonable job. I was surprised how well he did at right back.
At right back,
I didn't think when I saw him lining up the first game, lining up at right back, I worried.
I'm going to be honest, but I think we all did because I think it was against Leeds when we beat them 7-0 when he was at right back and he scored that goal with his left foot in the second half. Yeah, it's root for the net. And he got up and down the pitch really well. He actually linked up well. And I tell you what, he might not have the pace, but I think that extra height, because you had two massive centre halves and then you had John at right back as well, so a bit of height in there. I think he had a great game, and I think every time he's done right back, and wasn't he right back for Real Madrid as well before he got, and then he got injured. But Fernandinho came on at half time, I think.
Yeah.
So, John can do right back. Obviously, I don't want to see him there. But if we need him to, he's another player that can play in multiple positions. And like I said, he can play defensive mid too.
I think the thing with Stones when we first signed him is, I think a lot of people forgot that how young he was.
Yeah.
He was 23, 24 when we first signed him.
How long's he been here now? Like 5 years?
More or less, yeah. And, for a centre-half as well, that's very young.
Yeah.
So I think he took time. He had some off-field issues as well when he had his dip and he was out of the team and there was talk of him leaving. But he's fought his way back and, I love him. I love him. I used to have that worry when he first came to us. I had that worry, it was the same thing he got because he made the mistakes for England. He made a couple of mistakes for us, just howlers basically. He was the last man and he gave the ball away a couple of times. They always used to have that little worry about him. With that, he's got a mistake in him. That was what the pundits would all say. He's got a mistake in him, so the attackers will target him. I don't see that with him anymore. I don't fear that anymore. When he's in, I'm pretty confident. I feel like he'll do the job. I like him.
I'm always happy to see him on the team sheet. If I'm honest, like I said, I don't think he lets us down.
No,
I really don't. And he's had to play right back this season a few times, and every single time I think he's done brilliantly.
Yeah.
And if you can play right back against Real Madrid and look good.
The only thing, sort of been in and out, hasn't he? Like you say, he's played a few different positions. He doesn't appear to be first choice. And even I said before, my first choice centre back pairing would probably be Laporte.
Well, it's going to be everyone's, isn't it?
More than likely, yeah, more than likely. I think that would be the consensus. But still got to rate him pretty. Still got to give him.
I don't want to see him play for anyone else.
No.
Because if he goes into any other team, he gets into their first team. Because he's that good. And, if Diaz or Laporte does get injured, Stone's coming in, I tell you what, I can't think of a better backup.
Got to have at least 3 top quality centre halves because you're going to rotate. You're going to need someone. So yeah,
and I'm really happy with him as well because, like you said, when he was out of the team, you didn't think he was going to get back in. I thought we were going to sell him or offload him because he looked done. He looked done as a player.
He did. Yeah, the rumours were there, and it seemed like he'd sort of accepted it as well.
Yeah, it did.
So you got to give him the credit for fighting back and proving people wrong and getting back to the level, which I think he has got to the level that everyone thought he would do.
I think he's at his peak form now. I think this might be the best John Stones we've seen. It's City anyway.
I'd have to agree with that.
And maybe that a big part of that is because of Laporte and Diaz coming in as well, and he knows he has to fight for his place. There's, he's got more competition there because they're world-class defenders, them as well. So John, for me, honestly, if he goes, I'd be sad because I think he's phenomenal. And like I said, backup or first choice, I don't really mind. And right back,
I can't see.
Put him in there. I don't think he'll go either.
I can't see.
He looks happy, doesn't he, when you see him?
I can't see him why he won't.
I'm going to give him...
he looked steaming on the parade.
He looked happy, didn't he? I think they all looked happy. I mean, we'll get to Grealish at some point. But John, I'm going to give him a 9, again, because I think, like you said, right back, I feared when he was at right back, but he had phenomenal games, maybe a couple of his best games of the season at right back.
I can agree with that. I can agree with a 9.
So I think if he played more, I might even be tempted to go 10. And like I said, that Liverpool game, I think him and Ake were the best players, even though we got smashed. I thought they were really good. And that leaves us with Diaz, last defender.
Ruben.
Yeah, last defender.
Say about him. Usually when players coming into our team anyway, and coming into Pet, everyone says they need time. Take some time to adapt. Stuff. He came in, fitted in. It was like a company replacement, ready-made. There you go.
I'd say let's not forget he replaced Company, who we all thought couldn't be done.
I didn't think he could be done, but honestly, he'd be my captain next year. First choice captain. Not one of the vice captains, my first choice captain. He is captain material.
Well, you saw me playing Football Manager earlier. He's my captain.
Yeah.
The first thing I did was tell Fernandinho it ain't him and make it Ruben.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when he first came in, I thought you could see he wasn't quite as comfortable with the ball.
Yeah.
But I think he's slowly getting that. I mean, he's the leader of men.
He's come in.
I know it's such a cliche, but he is.
He's come in and he's our best defender.
Our best out-and-out defender, yeah.
And he's only 25. But like I said, I think, he can be our captain for the next 10 years because I think he's got, like I said, leadership quality. He's vocal. He's very vocal. He's a winner. You can see it on the pitch.
Yep.
Even when we were scoring our 6th or 7th goal, he's going high-fiving everyone. He's making sure we
every
focus.
time we make a block, anytime anyone makes a save or
he's
stops,
the first one,
puts it out for a corner, he's always back.
I remember that one against PSG. When Zinchenko made that block in the semi-final a couple of years ago, and Ruben was the first one to him, just slapping him. It's like, yes, lad. And he did the same thing with Laporte when he made that block against Leeds. He was the first one on him, just grabbing him.
You know what my favourite thing about Ruben Dias, the favourite thing I've ever seen? I can't remember who we were playing. Whoever we were playing, they had a free kick. We put our wall up and we had Zinni lying down behind.
And he grabbed him by the neck.
He was like not in the right place and he just picked him up and physically moved him like 3 feet. I was like, that's just amazing.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not even going to tell him, I'm just going to go rip him.
Yeah, you here, like that, yeah.
No, I like Ruben. Do you think he was helped massively by the fact that when he came in, there was no fans in the stadium? So he had no pressure or anything?
Possibly. It's hard to... He doesn't seem like the kind of character that it would have affected him. I feel like he thrives on it, to be honest with you. I mean, wasn't he captain previous club?
Oh, I don't know, to be honest.
I'm pretty sure he was captain.
Possibly.
There. He was possibly their youngest captain as well, because he was, like, very young.
Where was it, Benfica or somewhere?
It's Benfica, and it's the same place we got Edison.
And Bernardo from.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure he was their captain. So it shows you that he's always had that leadership quality. He's got that naturally. Yeah. We missed him when he was injured. We missed him in a way, like you say, Stones came in, played really well, but we missed that leadership.
Company factor.
Yeah, we missed that. Just organising us, just calming us down when we needed to be calm, just not panicking when teams were sort of putting a bit of pressure on us. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if we found a single City fan who didn't like him. Yeah. Like, he's got to be one of the first on the team sheet, hasn't he? He's phenomenal. And, yeah, like I said, make him captain next year, although I think it's done on a vote, isn't it, the players? The players vote.
The players vote, yeah. Which I think a lot of the time seniority comes into that with the players. They feel like the guys who's been there the longest or who's been a longer time and has a bit more... I feel like De Bruyne... or if Gundo's still here, one of those two, probably Gundo will get the actual captaincy. But if it was up to me...
Yeah, as your captain, all right. So, season, what would you rate?
Very high, 8 or a 9.
8 or a 9?
I'm going 9.
I mean,
for Ruben. I was going swaying a bit lower there because I'm just remembering the end of the season when he was injured and he was being out and stuff like that. But then I started to think back to the earlier on in the start of the season, the first 3 or 4 months. Phenomenal.
Well, he only missed 9 games this season.
Yeah.
So he's had a good season. And like I said, it's just unfortunate his injuries came right at the end.
Came at the important time.
It came right at the end, which was where all our injuries came. Basically, let's go Madrid. From that point on, it just went downhill for the team. But I think he's had a really good season. And again, 9 or 8. I think I'll go an 8, to be honest with you. I don't think he's had a bad season. I think he's had a phenomenal season. But I'm just going to sit him on an 8 because...
Waiting for our first one where we completely disagree. We've both been more or less in agreement.
So, midfielders. Yeah, we're in midfield now, so we're getting there. Who do you want to check out first?
We've got to start with the linchpin, haven't we? The main man, Rodri.
Okay, so Rodri for me, I tell you what, we need him on our team sheet. Because when he doesn't play, that team does not play the same way.
Rodri is, for me, personally, he's our player of the year. Yeah.
That's a good shot. I saw a stat earlier on Sky Sports that said he made the most interceptions of any player in the Premier League. And I think he was second for aerial duels and second for passes or something like that.
I think, like you said, integral to how we play. Like, he's grown into that role perfectly. I mean, I thought when we first signed him, I thought he looked like a Pep Guardiola player straight away, to be honest with you. But I think he's grown.
He's gotten so much better since he first came.
So much better. Also, worryingly, I mean, we might get on later on to who we need to bring in, but he is irreplaceable. There is nobody in our squad who can replace him, who can come in and do what he.
No, you're right. I mean, if you look at... So we've got so many players, because this is something I want to touch on later as well. We've got so many players who play in different positions, but no one can sit in DM like him.
No. Yeah, I thought it was going to be very hard to replace Fernandinho, because peak Fernandinho was...
He was good. No, he was good.
God.
I know I said I want to get rid of him now.
Yeah, but we're not talking about peak.
3 years ago, he was phenomenal.
Yeah, exactly. 3-4 years ago, he was phenomenal. But now, I feel like that about Rodri. He's integral to the team. For me, he's player of the year. It'd be a 10 out of 10.
Player of the year, 10 out of 10, eh?
Also, not only for, obviously his job is, the deep line player, he's the pivot, he, controls the flow of our game. Defensively, he's important. This season, he's added goals.
Good goals as well.
Oh, was it Burnley hit that absolute
Everton.
Screamer. Was it Everton?
Everton, yeah.
He just ball pops out 30 yards out. He just ran onto
top corner.
Oh, absolutely! When he hits it, it stays hit.
The thing is, though, like he's got a couple of goals where he's just passed it in, like the Villa game, and he did one against
Arsenal.
Yeah, Arsenal.
Arsenal. He just bent it in the corner. Yeah, he can do that. He can do that as well. But when he hits it, there's nothing like that. When someone absolutely just smashes the ball from 20. 30 yards.
And when you got a DM who's just coming on to 30 yards out and just smashing the ball on target.
Fernandinho used to do that occasionally as well.
He did, you're right. I remember Fernandinho doing it a couple of times.
He's the new Fernandinho.
And what I will say about Rodri as well, that again, he doesn't get... I don't think he gets a lot of credit, because when the DMs get credit, unless you're an England player, But the thing about Rodri as well, that's got to be impressive, and people don't really take into account, is many teams use 2 DMs. We use 1. Yeah. But when you look at Chelsea, they use 2. They use like 9 defensive players. If you look at United, they use 2. That stupid pivot thing they always go on about. Leeds, all the big teams, Liverpool, they use 2. We use 1.
Because they haven't got Rodri.
Exactly. And Roger, the amount of times I've seen him fend off 2 players in the midfield, right?
The closest you've got to him in the league, and the Liverpool fans be screaming about Fabinho. He is the closest, but for me, he's not a patch on Rodri.
No, Rodri's best in the league for me. He's so good. And like I said, when he's not in the team, we do not play the same way.
Can't.
Defensively, we don't look the same. In midfield, we look like we've been outrun.
But I think the choices when Rodri wasn't there this season were either 37-year-old Fernandinho, who could no longer run, just scary, because he wasn't even quick enough to foul people anymore.
You're right.
The other option...
Can't even get a yellow.
The other option was Gundo. And Gundo... He'll do a job there. He's good on the ball, but
he's too short.
He's not physical enough. He's not quick enough, and it's just not his natural game anyway. It's not his natural game. He wants to get forward, move forward, Gundo.
Player of the season, Rodri. 10 out of 10. I mean, I'm going to give him 10 for that Arsenal goal. That's that away game.
Oh, yeah.
The winner.
The toe poking.
And then when he ran to the Arsenal fans.
Shirt off.
Love that. Give him a 10 just for that.
I love his celebrations as well, to be honest with you. When he does score, he always gives a good celebration.
Oh, he loves it. And don't forget, he scored an absolute worldie against Norwich as well when De Bruyne was down injured.
The volley.
We have volleyed it in top corner as well, yeah. What was that, Watford?
I think it was Watford.
It was against Foster, wasn't it? Yeah. Rodri, yeah, okay. Yeah, you'll play the season. I like it. So who do we go on next? Let's do Ilkay. Ilkay made the Scousers cry. 10 out of 10. Moving on.
Just for that 5-minute spell versus Villa, he gets a 10 out of 10.
The thing is, okay, so a few months ago, because obviously when I do the live watch-alongs and stuff, you see a lot of Scousers coming, you see a lot of United fans coming, and they're always slagging the team off and calling us cheats and financial fair play and all that. But I actually saw one City fan comment saying that when Ilkay first came, City fans didn't like him. And I was like, that is not true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I loved him from day one, because you could see he was a baller. He was Pep's first signing. And he looked really, really...
He got that bad injury, didn't he?
He did, but whenever he's on the ball, he doesn't lose it. He might not be the tallest.
I don't know any City fans that didn't.
No, when I saw that comment, I was like, what is that about?
He was, like you say, a perfect Guardiola-style midfielder. He's so comfortable with the ball, technically gifted. Got an eye for goal. He knows when to get in the box.
I think he'd be in that team every week if it wasn't for Bernardo.
Probably, yes. Probably.
I think he would.
I think a younger Gundo would get in that team every week. I think maybe the injuries that he's had, I know he's not that old, but he is the wrong side of 30. I think
It's got my hairstyle as well.
I think it's not got my hairstyle. I've got Pep's.
Yeah.
I wonder if the pace. You know, he can't. I mean, Bernardo. We know what Bernardo is. He's an engine. He just runs and runs and runs. He covers more ground.
It's crazy, isn't it?
He covers more ground than any player in the Premier League consistently.
It's like a toddler, just goals.
Gundo can't do that, unfortunately, nowadays. I think that's.
But when we're controlling possession as much as we do, you bring in Gundo and he's the perfect player.
Yeah. Against the teams, the bottom of the table teams, your Burnleys, your teams like that, Norwich, whatever. They're going to completely just sit back, and we're going to have all the ball. He's perfect because he's got an eye for a pass. He can do the little dink balls over the top, little through balls, things like that.
And most importantly, he actually gets into the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
I've been saying for months, like, he's the only one that does it.
He can smell it, can't he? You can smell the...
Then why not play him more? Like, it's phenomenal that he doesn't put... Because the amount of times we put cross... we've crossed the most out of any team in the Premier League. Putting the most crosses... It's like we play with Kane. Yeah. It's like we've got Kane up front. We do not have Kane.
I think that's just because teams force us wide.
So why not play Ilkay? Make more people cry? Like
you said, mainly because of Bernardo's form. I think in the bigger games, in the more competitive games, he hasn't got the legs anymore.
Yeah, you're probably right. But what against Villa?
What a substitution.
Because if we'd brought on Grealish, would we be sat here happy now?
Yeah. I think weird one because he was so good season before, when he scored all those goals.
He was that top scorer that season.
Yeah, he was so
How phenomenal is that?
That it seems like a bit of a dip this year. But I don't think it's that he's dipped. I think he just can't get in the team because other people are better.
Well, again, look,
I think Bernardo and De Bruyne are better.
27 appearances in the Premier League this season. He's played 43 overall.
I think a lot of them are sub though.
Yeah, but he's got 8 goals and 4 assists. That's not a bad return.
He's very good. I love Ilkay. I do love him.
I do. Give him a statue.
Won't go that far.
Put it outside Anfield.
If we keep going this way, me and you are going to have statues.
I hope so.
It's hard. He's a hard one to rate.
I think first half of the season he was non-existent really, because we didn't need him.
Yeah.
But second half of the season, just like the year before, during COVID lockdown, he's so integral to what we do. And I think as a backup to De Bruyne, he's the only one we've got. There's backup to De Bruyne. Although I think Phil's coming really close to that.
I think.
But Ilkay is probably one of the most creative players we've got.
He's been a very good servant for us.
He might be the closest.
I think we might have had the best years out of him, though.
Yeah, I mean, arguably maybe.
I've just got this feeling. There's just something that I just feel like I don't want to see what's happened with Fernandinho. I said this a year ago, and
he's 7 years younger.
A lot of City fans slagged me off. He's young enough to be his son.
He's younger than me.
I argued with a lot of City fans a year ago about Fernandinho because I thought his legs had gone before the beginning of this season. Back end of last season, I was like...
Yeah, but this season really showed it.
Yeah, but I could see it coming already. And this season, it hasn't tainted his legacy or anything like that. He's thinking... But
we just don't want to see him again.
No, we never wanted him on the pitch at any point. We want him on the pitch. And I don't want to see that happen to Gundo.
But that's not negative on Fernandinho.
No, it's not. It's natural. It happens. Time beats everyone, doesn't it? There was a rumour, wasn't there, a couple of weeks ago. It turned out to be false that Gundo might be looking at going back to Germany or something like that, moving on. It wasn't that heard that rumour.
Really, I was.
Because, I think we've had the best of him. I think I love what he's done. Been great for us. I'm not trying to push him out the door. If we keep him fantastic. But if he moved on, I wouldn't be that disappointed. I think we could do different things in the midfield. I think we can cover Gundo.
Well, I think the big question with Gundogan is if he does stay, do we keep him happy just playing backup again?
Possibly not.
He's done it for 3 years now.
Yeah. I don't think. Well, like we said before, he's not. He can't cover Rodri. So then you're looking at one of the two attacking midfield roles. If De Bruyne is fit, he ain't getting in the team. And the other one, I've got my opinion on who should be in it, but he's looking, third, fourth choice? Not even just second choice.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking off the bench, I was actually surprised they brought him on against Villa.
He's good to come on and, Villa's a prime example. He's good to come off the bench if we need a little bit. I need a spark here or there, so I wouldn't be disappointed if we keep him.
I was still surprised Pep made that substitution.
It's whether he's going to be happy in that role.
Maybe he's had his Aguero moment, as they say. Maybe he's had that. Maybe he's going to be happy to stay, or maybe it's time for him to move on. But I don't want to see him at an English club because, again, he's quality.
The overall season, probably going to have to go a 7. Those last 5 minutes at Villa boost it up at least to an 8, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go 7 as well. I think he's had a solid season. I think he's come in really well. Like I said, most of his appearances are usually sub or backup when someone gets injured. But I think he can do a really good job in midfield.
But there's also been games, I feel like, where he's come on sub for 20 minutes, or he just sort of, you've not really seen anything from him, and that's why I just feel like he has just peaked. Possibly, I could be wrong, but it's just my feeling.
Well, there we go. Gundogan's peaked. Get rid of him.
Get it in first.
Give him to Arsenal like everyone else. Bernardo.
City B.
City B. Yeah, well, we've got Portugal B, so we may as well have
Bernardo
Silva.
What can you say about the man? Absolutely love him. Absolutely love him.
I can never rate him below a 10.
He gets a 10. He gets an 11 for effort every game.
Remember that goal against Villa, the away to them, that volley.
That's goal of the season. I don't know if we're going to do a goal of the season at some point. If we are,
that was my goal of the season.
When I was
well.
watching the goals back, I saw the Rodri on the screamer, and I thought, "Oh, that's goal of the season." And then, 2 or 3 clips later, that Bernardo volley came, and I was like, "Oh no!"
No, that Bernardo volley is quality.
The pass from Jesus is underrated as well. Perfect ball.
By the way, if you watch that goal back, do you see who wins the ball back in our own box?
Mahrez?
It was Mahrez. Around 2 players. He wins the ball and plays Fernandinho.
Yeah,
chips it forward. Bloody Mahrez to Fernandinho. Quality. He wants to get rid of them. But yeah, Bernardo, that's my goal this season. I was going to say that because I think it's phenomenal. That volley.
We've got to keep him.
But you can't replace him, can you?
The only issue...
No one does what he does.
The only issue is whether he wants to be... He wants to stay, because obviously there was that talk of him going back. He wanted to be closer back to Portugal. He wanted to be closer to
We tried to sell Bernardo in the summer for Kane, which was shocking. We tried to sell him. He's just played 56 games.
Yeah.
How are we trying to get rid of Bernardo when he's played 56 games?
Wasn't it? We won't stand in the way. If a player wants to leave, we'll let him.
He's got the same goals and assists as Gundogan as well.
He should have more.
He should have
a lot more assists.
But he's not really one of those players. Again, he doesn't really get forward. Oh, and by the way, just going back on Gundogan, just one quick thing. We can't forget how well defensively he did in the last few weeks. That Leeds, he saved us in the first minute. When Cancelo went down, Gundogan was one that got back and defended it. He also did the same against... he did it against someone else at Newcastle, I think, when it's 0-0 as well.
He's got a good football brain, Gundogan.
He might not be quick, but he
sees the game very well.
He's got a good picture. But Bernardo, I don't think anyone can do what he does. And again, his engine, second to none.
It's ridiculous. My only thing... Bernardo, and this is going to be my first unpopular opinion, is I want to see Phil in the midfield with Kev. Means dropping Bernardo, and that might not. I'm not saying every game, but yeah, going forward, I want to see Phil in the midfield.
Well, we'll wait till we get to Phil for that because I've got my opinion on that, as well, and I disagree.
So that's.
But
I don't want Silva. I don't want to lose Bernardo Silva. I don't want to lose him at all. But
I think it's shocking the club tried to sell him.
I'd say probably second, and this will be another unpopular opinion. I might as well roll them all out at once. When I said Rodri's player of the year, I'd say Bernardo's second. Now, most people will go for Kev just because Kev and what Kev does is ridiculous. God. But
he is a god.
I think for consistency, never lets you down. He turns up in all the big games. Bernardo was there all the time, all the way through the season, from the beginning to the end. If you go back to the highlights early on.
He's only missed 3 games all season.
He contributes all the time.
He's only missed 3 games.
I know Kev had reasons. I know there was injuries, COVID. There was a lot of different things going on.
He had a bad start to the season.
That's why it took him a long time to get going.
Yeah,
and the second half of the season, if it was just the last 4 months, he's been the best player in the world. But yeah, Bernardo would be second. So
I think Bernardo had a phenomenal first half of the season. I thought he was incredible.
I'd go a 9 on Bernardo.
But the second half of the season, it's tough to say because, like I said, I think more players stepped up in the second half of the season. I think we had a really slow start. We got beat by Tottenham first game of the season, and that starting 11 was poor. And like I said, we had injuries. We didn't have pre-season because the Champions League ran late. So we didn't have pre-season in the summer, and we had injuries to Kevin there. So I think we got off to a pretty slow start, even though we were still winning games, just about churning out. We were keeping the level with Liverpool and Chelsea anyway. We were just about keeping up with them.
Actually,
yeah, but when November and December hit and we started to win all the games when everyone came back, Bernardo kind of just, not lost his way, but he just kind of got overrun by everyone else because everyone else came into form. But Bernardo was the outstanding player.
I agree and I disagree. I think Bernardo was performing when everybody else wasn't.
No, I agree.
The season, and I think all that happened was everyone else caught up and got back to their levels. I don't think his performances dropped. I'm not
saying his performance dropped. I just think everyone else, because when Phil's playing at his best, when Kev's playing at his best, they're scoring goals, they're assisting. Bernardo's not doing that.
Yeah, you get the flashy.
The highlight reel is Kev, not him, and I think that's kind of what takes it away from Bernardo.
But that's also one of his biggest qualities, is the fact that he does the work, the unseen work that allows those guys to do that. He's the one that does all the running, and it's unnoticed sometimes. Like he'll play as a false nine, and so he's just pressure, because it's when Pep wants the pressure right up front, he's up there. He's playing as the false nine, or he's playing as one of the attacking midfielders, pushing right up.
I don't like him as false nine though.
No, I don't like him. I don't like anyone as false nine. I hope the false nine's dead.
Hey, we won the league with it though.
But also, I think there was other games where he played deeper in midfield and allowed Kev just to go forward, and he was just the legs in midfield, just getting about, snuffing out danger, just keeping the ball. There was games where you'd see him picking the ball up off the back four.
Yeah, no, you did see that a lot.
Do you know, when he's very much, Pep will put him where he needs him, and he does the job that's needed.
I think he's Pep's best friend.
Well, he's one of them. Doesn't he love Foden?
He absolutely loves Foden. I think Jesus is actually his favourite. Yeah, because I think him and Gabriel live next door. Yeah, that's what I've heard anyway. I don't know if that's still the case, but when Jesus came...
No, it's Gundo, isn't it? Gundo lives next door.
Was it?
Yeah, he's next door.
So I'm pretty sure when Jesus first came, they used to get carpools together. I'm pretty sure.
Imagine that. Go away with your boss.
Yeah, I'd hate it.
So, yeah. Did I give him a rating? Did I give him a 10?
You gave him a 9 or 10. I don't think you gave it. You just said he was second best player this season.
I think I did give him a 9, actually. I think I said 9. But I'm changing my mind. I'm going 10.
10, all right.
I've talked myself into it. I think for his consistency.
I mean, I'm going to give him 10. Like I said, I still maintain that he was on form early season and then everyone else caught up around December. Yeah. But again, that's not to take away anything from Bernardo, because I don't think anyone can do what he does. I don't even think Phil could do what he does. I think if you put Phil in that role, we're not as effective.
They do different things, but that's part of the reason I want Phil in that role, because I want different things.
But I'm going to give Bernardo a 9.
I think Phil's underrated for his energy, for his energy.
We're going to get to Phil,
for his tracking, for his pressure.
I will. We'll go to Phil now then, because let's get Phil out of the way.
We're classing Phil as a midfielder then. He's in the attacking line.
Oh, is it? Okay, we'll leave Phil then for now. So we go to
Kev.
So Kev, for me, I'm going to say it right now, as controversial as it is, best player in the world. No one comes close.
Is that controversial?
Mate, honestly,
not in this room.
No one comes close to me.
I've been calling him Kevin de Ballon d'Or for like 3 months.
You see all the I fucking hate BT, but you see all the BT pundits, all the ex-Liverpool players who used to play for City as well, like Fowler, McManaman, and that.
But
honestly, you wouldn't think it, and they're all going on about how Salah does everything that no one else can do, and I was like, Kev does things no one else can do. Salah hasn't got 2 feet. Do you know he scored more left-footed goals than right this season, Kev?
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he scored a hat-trick with his left foot.
Because if you actually watch the highlights again, you know the goals. If you watch the 99 goals this season, you know the first 5 he scores are all of his left foot. And then obviously the last 5 he scores a left foot.
He strikes a ball so cleanly.
I can't kick the ball with my right as good as he does with his left.
Ridiculous. Whichever foot.
And then that Wolves game, he carried us that game. He was phenomenal. That first half.
The last month of the season, he dragged us along with him.
If you look at that hat trick as well, if you look at when he scores that third of it, I was going to say with his left, but all with his left. When he scored the third, if you look behind the goal, the Wolves fans cheering and clapping because it's such a clean strike the way he does it. And again, important goals against Chelsea, that was phenomenal. That goal when Kante tried to hack him down.
Always turns up in a big game.
Yeah,
always.
I mean, you look at other players, I think Salah goes missing in big games. You know, if you look at some of our players, I think Mahrez goes missing every now and then.
Mahrez is very much an off and on.
I think
kind
Sterling
of player,
goes missing quite a bit, but Kev is the one constant in that midfield. And going forward, he turns up everywhere. He helps Cancelo left back. He goes right back.
There is not, and I'm not exaggerating here. You can Mbappe, Messi, you can name anyone. I would not swap De Bruyne for any player in the world.
I wouldn't.
Not a single one.
Kevin has been absolutely incredible, and I'll build his statue myself if they don't give him one. I love Kev. I think he's the best player in the world. I don't think he can do anything wrong. And yeah, I don't think anyone comes close.
Do you know the thing that I think stands out? Whenever it's like when we were signing Grealish, and they said, you know, who are you looking forward to playing with the most? De Bruyne. When there was an interview with Kane one day,
he said
like,
De Bruyne.
Which player in the league would you want to play with? De Bruyne. All the pros, all the professional football players, if you ask them, they'll all go De Bruyne, De Bruyne.
So here's the question.
That tells you something.
Haaland and De Bruyne? 100 goals a season for Haaland?
Well, I mean, hopefully, because what's his assist this year?
He's only got 8 in the league.
8 in the league.
He's got 18 altogether.
Yeah.
But remember, that first half of the season, he was poor, wasn't he?
There was reasons he was injured and stuff like that. Yeah, it took him a while to get going.
Well, 15 goals is a heck of a return.
He even said himself. Well, I think because he realised there's no point trying to make these assists because no one was getting on the end and scoring them.
It's absolutely true. Apart from that one,
he just thought, I'll just score myself, basically. I'll just do it myself.
He's incredible. And what I love as well about that Wolves game, when he scores the third, there's a shot of Foden like this.
Yeah.
Because you can't believe what he's just seen, and I love that. You know, and I think Kev, like you said, for me, if it wasn't Diaz, he'd be captain every day.
To be honest with you, I don't want him to be captain. You're not
going to let him talk?
No, it's not that. I want him just to do what he does on the pitch. I don't want any extra pressure or anything like that. I think some players are suited to it and some players aren't.
I think he puts himself under pressure.
He does, yeah, he does. But I think, like we said, Diaz you can see he's just a natural leader. He just comes naturally to him.
What was it, a month in, he's dragging Zinchenko by his neck.
I think Kev's just more of a quiet guy. He's just naturally a great football player. So, yeah, I'd rather him not have any extra pressure. But, you know, the players vote for that. If he gets it, he gets it. So, yeah, irreplaceable. I
mean, on the pitch, like, I see it all the time as well. Like, if you go to I don't recommend, but if you watch the Man United fan cams and stuff, one of their big complaints is that Bruno doesn't get the same, like, acknowledgement as Kev. But the thing is that I'm always saying is that if you're just watching highlights and you're watching, like, someone making a assist, you haven't seen Kevin run the match for 90 minutes, which is what he does. It's not just the last pass, it's the pass before the last pass that he does. It's winning the ball in midfield.
And
it's
if you're watching highlights, you won't see the 25 things that should have been an assist.
You're telling me about
like Sterling's been on the end of, or Jesus has been on the end of.
Can't wait to talk about him.
They missed them, so
Kevin is phenomenal, and like I said, I would not replace him for anyone in this world ever.
Even the fact that the first sort of couple of months struggled, he was injured, he finding his feet, getting back into form, and there was games there where Pep was playing him, like trying to play him into form, that I thought he should have left him out a bit more and let him rest a bit more. Even with that, he still gets a 10 because the levels he's reached since then, back end of the season, he reaches levels that no other player can do.
Like you said, he doesn't go missing, does he?
No.
He turns up every game, every big game. And how many times has he won us the game against Chelsea?
If he's not performing, no, he's injured. No, there's something wrong with him. That's the only thing that stops him.
He's crucial to everything we're doing, and when you don't see him on the team sheet, you know we're going to have a bad game. And that's unfortunate for us. But again,
And he, got the assist counted to Gundo at the end.
10 out of 10 again for Kev.
Did you say that was assist of the season?
It was, on the City thing, But it wasn't for me.
No, it wasn't for me either, but hey.
But you're not going to begrudge him. Probably get Gundogan the best goal of the season as well for that.
I feel like we didn't even need to discuss Kev. We could have just said 10 out of 10, move on.
No, but I think it's quite important because, like I said, I think unless you watch, because the thing is, sometimes you can just watch highlights on Match of the Day and not see someone's brilliance. Yeah. But with Kev, because I watch every City game without fail, the whole 9 minutes, and he's so important. The way, like the amount of times I've seen him drive the ball from our own box to theirs, and then, like I said, someone fluffs the line, so he doesn't get the assist at the end of it. He's such a hard worker, and that's the one thing people don't respect about him. He works so hard off the ball, so hard.
Yeah, he does. He's a proper box-to-box midfielder.
He is actually a box-to-box midfielder. He's
proper box-to-box. I think another thing with these assists dipping, down to what we was discussing earlier, how I was saying how we're so slow in our build-up nowadays compared to, you remember the 17-18, 18-19 season when we had Sane, Sterling, and we would literally
like Liverpool now.
Poof, boom, we were so quick. We build up much slower now. So I think he doesn't have as, he can't hit those quick passes anymore because we're so slow. We allow the other teams to get back because we're trying to control it. And he still gets it. He's still phenomenal with his assists and the balls he plays. But
I mean, his crosses are ridiculous.
There's not the spaces to exploit that he have. Hopefully, next season with certain players coming in, he'll get some more of those.
It's okay, best player in the world. I won't hear anything else. And
the only one left is Fernandinho, and I mean, what I'll do is
that's 19 games too many, by the way.
What I'll say about Fernandinho is,
who did he score against?
I'm not going to give Fernandinho. Who did he score against? He scored. Did he get one in the 7-0 against Leeds?
He scored against Leeds.
Everyone scored against Leeds.
And he scored at their ground as well in 4. He got the 4th.
Did he?
Yeah. I remember Sterling falling over as usual and then him smashing it from 25 yards.
Yeah. I'm not going to give Fernandinho a rating for this. Because basically he shouldn't have been playing this season. I'm not going to give him a rating. I'll just give him a 10 out of 10 for his career.
Okay, yeah, I'll give him a 10 out of 10 as well.
For his career, that's what I'll do. I'll rate him. He's an absolute legend.
I'm also going to mention about how Pep says he's so important to him as well, because he is the team captain.
Yeah.
You know, so clearly he's had some influence over the players and he's had some drive.
The fact that, you know, the levels we've maintained to keep winning, to win the Premier League since Company left. You know, obviously Pep sets the standards, he's at the top. But you need the captain as well in there doing it amongst the players. The Company did that. Fernandinho did that. He carried on that level. He kept us there.
I think as well to defend Fernandinho a little bit because he is the same age as me, which is appalling in itself. But I think to defend Fernandinho a bit, we got rid of Aguero and Company left just as they were fading as well. So they left at the right time, just as they're not at their peak, but just before we could see the worst sides of them. Yeah. But now we've seen the worst side of Fernandinho because he stayed one season too long.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Because Aguero, I mean, when we got rid of him, I was like, what are we doing? And then he doesn't play football anymore.
Especially because we didn't have another striker.
Exactly,
yes.
Yeah. So Fernandinho, you know, to defend him a little bit is that he probably stayed on one season too long. Yeah. But if he's been that important to us, I mean, I'm surprised he's not stayed on as coach.
I am a little bit. Yeah, I am a little bit. I think he would have been very good in the backroom staff. Very, very good. But I can also understand him wanting to go and live in Brazil for a little while. He's lived in rainy Manchester for 10 years. Let the guy go to the beach, you know.
I've been to Brazil. I wasn't a fan of it, if I'm honest.
Field, isn't it?
Yeah, well, unless you want to talk about Cole Palmer. And McAtee,
I don't think there's much.
Do you want to do it at the end?
The youth lads, we'll do them all together at the end.
Okay. So then, first up, let's do Riyadh first. Riyadh. No, Kev is. Well, he's in the league, Kev is, but overall.
Overall, yeah, Mahrez is because he got a lot of Champions League goals, didn't
he? Yeah, he has 7.
Yeah. It's a strange one, Mahrez. Absolute quality. He's got a wand of a left foot. Don't feel like he produces enough.
I think he's too one-dimensional.
Yeah. He's not going to run past anyone. He won't run past the defender.
I did stupidly.
He can beat a defender with a little bit of trickery, but he will always, well, not always, but 9 times out of 10, he will cut back onto that left
I did stupidly say a few weeks ago to someone sat next to me on the ground that I could tackle him. Well, that's because I know exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah. I just think for the quality he's got, what I see more, what I see more end product.
I think that's.
I mean, he scored a fair amount of goals this year, but doesn't get as many assists as I'd like.
And he's got 5 in the league.
Very, very, very good player. I don't know. There was a point where he was our first choice right winger.
That first season when he scored that 4th against Brighton and that, or 3rd against Brighton, that season he was really good. But the whole team were.
Yeah. I think even this season, early on in the season, there was a point where he was our first choice right winger, and he was the one scoring goals for us at that point. Nobody else was.
He had a really good first half of the season.
He's tailed off towards the end of the year. I think he's only got a year left on his contract.
Him and Sterling up at the end of the next season, yeah. Him and Sterling both up. Do you think it's time for him to go? I think it's time for him to go. But I don't think we can lose him and Sterling in the same year.
No, you got. I think it's one or the other, isn't it?
And it's more likely going to be Sterling that goes.
Although you probably throw Jesus into that as well because he's. He's had. I feel like I'm getting down on Mahrez here when he's had a very, very good season. Do you know what I mean? Probably looking around an 8 out of 10 season for me. It is, like I say, I just feel there's always this feeling that I want more from him.
I think maybe that's the problem with Riyadh, is that he's had a good season. You can't deny he hasn't, but at the end of the day, you think he should be doing better. Yeah. And you want to see him more. Maybe that's just a high standard he's set himself from Leicester coming to us, because he has been one of the best players over the last few years in the Premier League. But this season, his levels have just dropped.
I think there's a possibility as well, from my point of view, it's sort of comparing him. So, like we mentioned before about the 1890s, when we had Sane and Sterling, we had two out-and-out quality wingers who were just goal machines. They were bombing on. They were getting goals, assists. It was so exciting to watch. Not that same kind of player. Not that type of player.
He's always one extra touch, isn't he?
Yeah, he's always one extra touch. And, I mean, sometimes there's just no one to put the ball into. So I agree, understand that. So I think possibly comparing him to those kind of guys and wanting something, a bit more flash from him, I suppose. And then also look at sort of other wide forwards in his position. Obviously, Salah, scoring the goals. Diaz, I feel like it's just wanting that little bit more from him than. I think this applies to both of our winging positions at the moment. I just feel like I want a bit more from them.
I think, personally, our front three, no matter who's played there, has been pretty poor. Not poor, but, disappointing. They've not done as much as they should. I think the midfielders had to carry quite a lot this season.
Like I say, though, from what I've just been saying, we've been spoiled a little bit with what we had, and we're maybe comparing them to other ones. I mean, he got how many goals altogether?
24.
24?
No, it's a great return, honestly.
24 goals.
He scored a lot of goals.
That's a good goal.
It is, but when you think, like I said, towards the end of the season, he really didn't help us that much.
No, tailed off him.
He did tail off. Maybe that was just fatigue. Maybe that was, there's a lot. He's played 47 games this season. That's a long season for him.
He did seem to play better, I thought, in the Champions League. I always felt like he came alive a bit more in the Champions League.
Well, he scored 7 goals in the Champions League.
Maybe that's more.
Games.
Just that little bit. It's a bit of a more technical game, isn't it? It's a bit. Generally, you're playing against more technical teams. There's a bit more.
They want to defend less.
They don't just put 10 men behind the ball. They, even
they're not playing Burnley.
Every team that comes into
let's go Madrid.
Yeah, every team that comes into it is either the champions or a top team in their country. So they've all got something about them.
United were in it this season.
Were they?
Yeah.
Again. Anyway, yeah. So I feel like he performed better in the Champions League. So I feel like I'm being a bit down on him, but yeah, 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Yeah, okay, I'll go along with that as well. Like I said, Riyadh is a tough one for me. I think he's frustrating to watch because, like I said, you always know he's going to chop in, and he's got a good right foot as well, though. I've seen him.
He has got a decent right foot. Do you know I think another thing with him is he always tends to get. Feels to me like he always tends to get the third or the fourth goal. Or do you know? It's not the winning goal.
Like
it's not the
United,
important goal.
It's the third and fourth.
Yeah, it's not the really. I mean, he did it. PSG won it a couple of years ago in the Champions League. He
scored 3, didn't he?
He won that game for us. But apart from that, it always seems to be he's like the cherry on the cake. He's not.
He did score against Real Madrid as well. He's the one that scored against Real Madrid at their ground.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
But then the team bottled it, so they let him down.
Yeah, it's all his fault.
Damn Riyadh.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't be heartbroken if he left because I feel like we've got players there who can do do not exactly what he does, but they can do a job. They can do something out on that way. And I feel like we've got a ready-made replacement in Cole Palmer. So yeah, I wouldn't be that disappointed if he left. Again, if he stays, happy if he stays as well.
I think Riyadh throws up an important question to me, and this is just that if you look at our team, so many players playing different positions, but Riyadh isn't one of them.
No. Well,
Riyadh is stuck there on the right. He can't play anywhere else.
Well, this is the thing.
Well, Sterling can play either side. Foden can play either side.
See, Foden can. I think Foden can play any of those 5 positions.
Foden's incredible.
He can play any of them. He's wasted in the false 9, but yeah, I feel like Sterling is better on the right wing.
I'm so
better.
Glad you've said
he's
this
much
because
better on the right
I've
wing.
been saying all season when Sterling's on the right, he's so much better than the left because he doesn't chop in.
Yeah, he's more direct. He's got the ball in front of him. He can run, which is what he wants to be facing forward and run. That's what.
Because half of the time when he takes that extra touch in front of the keeper 1-on-1, it's because he's on the left.
Yeah,
and he doesn't want to strike it with his left.
Back, like you say. But I think Sterling got pushed out to the left wing because Mahrez couldn't go anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It was sort of getting Mahrez into the team because you can't put Mahrez on the left wing.
Mahrez didn't even play false nine either. He's the only one that didn't play false nine.
I think that's because it does work, but he doesn't press properly. He doesn't press how Bernardo presses or Foden presses, how Jesus presses.
Yeah, but even Sterling played false nine.
That's why Jesus came in certain games on the wing instead of Mahrez because
we'll get to Jesus.
He presses so much better. You know what would be interesting? I'd be interested to see Mahrez on the left wing next year, crossing that ball into Haaland.
First time,
just whipping it in. That would be interesting to see. But I Pep won't do that.
I don't think Riyad would go for that either. Because I don't, it's like Sterling said a couple of years ago when he said he prefers to play on the left. I think Pep might have said it. Sterling prefers to play on the left because then he can run outside or inside.
Yeah.
But Sterling's strongest suit is the right side. But like I said, when Riyad plays, Sterling's going left and Sterling's going to have a bad game. Yeah. Because he's gonna take 2 or 3 extra touches. The crowd are going to get on his back, and as soon as the crowd get on Sterling's back, he's done.
I think that does affect Sterling.
So yeah, let's go on to Sterling then. Because
did you rate Mahrez?
I'll give him an 8.
You agreed with me.
Yeah. So Sterling, just as I was saying there with Sterling, when the crowd get on his back, he is not a good player. His confidence just drops, and when his confidence tanks, he doesn't run at defenders. The problem is,
he's one of those players that now become thing that people get on his back. It's now become this thing you do. You can hear it in the crowd. You can hear this
when he's one-on-one with the keeper.
Yeah, and it could be, the first few minutes of the game, straight away they'll go, oh, and you hear the sigh, you hear the disappointment in the crowd, you hear this kind of, and you're right, I don't think it helps him at all. And it annoys me because I think
he's only scored 17 in 47 though. That's pretty poor.
Well,
it is.
By his standards.
He scored 3 in the Champions League in 12.
By his standards, how many assists has he?
He's got 8 altogether.
8 altogether, so 20 odd contributions, like goals. It's not a great season, but that's, because he was getting 20 odd goals, 30 goals one season. I think Sterling does something that no one else in our team does. I think he's the only player we've got at the moment that has pace.
Yeah, he's on a forward.
Unfortunately, we've not been using pace. Like I say, it's all been slow, controlled build-up. I like Sterling. I think, yes, if I had hair, I'd pull it out. Because he misses a ridiculous amount of chances. We know that.
Well, at least he gets in the position, I guess.
But he gets in there and he scores a reasonable amount of goals. Like, if you look at his record for us, how many career games he's played and how many goals
he's the second
overall.
Player ever to score 100 goals at the Etihad after Aguero.
Yeah. For someone who's not an actual striker, so he's a winger, he's a wide forward, I like Sterling. I hope he stays. Out of the 3, Mahrez, if I had to choose one out of Sterling, Mahrez, Jesus, this will be my third unpopular opinion. I would keep Sterling.
I do not agree with you.
No, I didn't think you would. I don't think there'll be many City fans who agree with me.
But the one thing I will say
I would keep Sterling.
Well, the one thing about Raheem is his form's dropped off now for like 18 months, and it's since the contract thing. Since he got denied the same pay as De Bruyne, which I don't think he should be on, because De Bruyne's out there on his own. He was awful, and if you look at the way his season ended in the Champions League final when he shouldn't have been on the pitch.
He does let things off the pitch affect him more than it should.
He does, and like I said, when the crowd get on his back, he really doesn't bother. Like, you can just see his shoulders drop. I'm not saying he doesn't try, I'm just saying that he looks a different player. And the thing for me is, when I think back to the season, his best game for me was Burnley. And that just says it all for me. When your best game is Burnley, you're a fucking dire.
I think he suffered from being in and out of the team.
You say that, he's played 30 Premier League games.
I'd hesitate all those.
And they would be. I mean, I know they were against Villa.
It being in and out of the team, I think being played out of, not in his best position.
I don't think he's that good on the left. He's right.
I'd love to for him to get his confidence back, for him to get the form back. I'd love to see that. Whether it's possible, I don't know.
Well, I mean, like you said, him and Mahrez contracts were up.
If it's one of those. The only thing is, I can see with Sterling is, it could be one of those where he pushes for, which wouldn't surprise me.
It seems to be going that way, doesn't it?
I'd happily keep him, like I said.
Well, there's news today on Sky Sports that they were looking to offload him for 50 million, which I think is quite cheap for a 27-year-old.
Yeah, he's got his good years in front of him. Yeah. That's what we paid for him if we got 50 back.
He's worth more than that now, surely. But last year contract as well, you got to think to yourself, you got to recoup a little bit of it.
It's a hard one still. I mean,
I'm going to give him a 7.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I was going to go 6.
Well, I was tempted to 6.
I just don't feel like he's had a big contribution at all.
No, he hasn't really, has he? I mean, if we didn't have him this season, I think we would have missed him. But at the same time, someone probably would have stepped in and done his job. There would have been more game time for Foden, more game time for Grealish. But I mean, still.
So
it all depends. Like I said, I think it's all comes down to his contract. I think if we gave him the contract he wanted, like right now, I think next season he'll have a great season.
But this is the thing for me. Not bringing Mahrez in, so going on to Jesus, it's Sterling and Jesus both running out of contracts. I think one of them has to stay. Can't lose both.
And I think we keep Jesus. I think Jesus was so important to us at the end of the season. His goals,
I'd be happy to keep
his work rate, his assists. I think he's phenomenal on that right-hand side.
I'd be happy to keep him now because we've got strikers.
Well, that's the thing. So the thing that
if it was keeping him to play as a striker,
I think he can do a job though. Because you look at that false
he
9.
He can do a job, but
how is Pep not playing him at number 9? How is he not playing the only person that played striker there for 3 years?
He misses too many chances.
I mean, we just went through Sterling, who played at 9 more times than he did.
Yeah, but Sterling's not a natural 9. He plays out wide. So
he is.
He's supposed to. Yeah, but that's what I mean. We were hoping that he would be Aguero's successor. That when Aguero left,
this was the season to test it.
He'd finally get game time,
and then he plays him on the right wing. Which, by the way, he had a great season there. I think it's been really good.
I like him when he plays out wide.
He had a good goal against Liverpool. I thought he had a great game against Liverpool.
I like him more on the right wing than Mahrez.
Yeah, I do. Because the thing is, for me, I don't know if this is just me.
He gets in the box, affects the final third. Like that. He get in the box and create stuff more than Mahrez.
Well, the thing is as well, like I prefer right forwards on the right and left forwards on the left. Because if you're going to whip the ball in, you know, like I said, no chopping. You just put the ball in either side, and that's why I like Sterling on the right and I like Foden on the left. You know, I don't want to see a left foot on the right. And with Gabriel, if you look at the Villa game again, back to the Villa game. His work rate got us 2 goals in the end because he's the one that the ball went forward to. I think from
you can never question his work rate.
Cancelo, and his run behind Mings is the reason he fluffed that clearance and it fell to De Bruyne. He was one that gave the ball to Sterling to cross in for Gundogan because he was one that came deep for it and worked really hard to win it across defender and then push him out of the way. You know, so I think Gabriel, he was really important to us, and in the last few months, I thought he was phenomenal. Really did. But again, you know, replacing Aguero is always going to be difficult. I think maybe we might have found that answer now. Maybe, hopefully, depending. I think if we can keep him fit. But Gabriel was never really going to be that person. But I still think it's surprising that Pep wouldn't play number 9 more.
Do you think he's...
And he's wearing number 9 as well.
Do you think he's reached potential? Do you think... When we first came in, he showed glimpses. He showed, you know, a lot of things. And we thought... Give him time under Pep, he'll grow. When he gets more game time, he'll grow and he'll become that player.
It's a good question because I think at 25 he probably has peaked.
I think he's reached his potential, and I don't think as a striker anyway. I don't think he's at our level. I think he can do a job on a wing, but I wouldn't. He wouldn't be my starter.
Well, again, he's another player that can play multiple positions, and I think that's what Pep has seen this season. That if you look at the style of lineups he's gone with players who can play multiple positions rather than just one. And I think that's a reason to keep hold of Gabriel. He's a person you can play. He can play on the left probably as well if he wants, because I think he's got good left.
He has played on the left. He played on the left against Real Madrid a year or two ago in the Champions League. Did a great job.
He scored, didn't he, in that first leg? Yeah, so I mean, if you put him, you can put him on the left, put him in the middle, put him on the right. So I think he's a good backup player. But again, I'd probably say, like you, I think he has probably peaked. I don't think he can get any better. And I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's good. And I trust him more on that right than Mahrez, which might be a bit weird to say considering what Mahrez does. But I like Gabriel. And maybe that's just partly because of his work rate as well. Because again, you got Foden on the left, him on the right, Bernardo behind them. There's a lot of work rate there. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of drive.
It's integral to how we play.
It is.
If we're pushing that far up and we're pressing teams so far up, you need that work rate there, because one player who just doesn't press enough and it lets a team out.
And usually that's Sterling or Mahrez that doesn't do that.
break on us.
Season-wise, I'm going to give him an 8. But again, that's probably just going off the last few months from March onwards.
I'm trying to remember any real big moments from him. I think he's been reasonably consistent. He's played and he's done a good job. I can't remember too many really outstanding moments. I mean, he had that one game where he scored 4 that game.
Watford.
Everybody.
I could. Maybe.
You're talking yourself into this team.
I'm going to get a statue next season.
Yeah, no, I'd go a 7. I'd go a 7. Just, yeah, I feel like, kind of like what you said with Mahrez, where it's like, if he wasn't there, someone would have stepped in and done it, you know?
I was really glad to see him come back. I can't remember at what point in the season I said on one of the watch-alongs, like, I'm glad Gabriel's back because he's going to change the right-hand side for us. And he did.
Yeah.
And he did pick up a few goals at the end as well.
We'll see what we will see.
He finished with 8 assists too. 8 goals and 8 assists in the Premier League. That's pretty good.
He's like, that's why I said he's good for it, getting assists. He gets in the box and makes things happen. He runs at defenders in the box as well.
Although you got to say half of those goals came in one match.
He commits defenders with how Mahrez doesn't. Yeah. I feel like Mahrez doesn't feel like he has to because he's got technical quality. Yeah. Who's left?
Well, we've got Jackie Boy.
Super Jackie Grealish.
Yeah. Has he had a poor season? There's the first question.
It's. Are we not talking about the 100 million?
You have to put it in there, though, don't you? You have to.
I don't.
Because you can't.
I don't like to. I don't.
No, I know.
I don't think money correlates to anything.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to be the most expensive British signing ever, you're going to have to mention it. Because he's played more games than most of our players.
I think it's a terrible way to judge a player.
He's got 3 goals and 3 assists.
Terrible way.
No, I'm not saying judging by the money. I'm just saying you have to kind of put it in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean,
look at Lukaku. Was he worth what they paid for him?
Who?
This is what I mean.
He's not worth what anyone's paid for him.
You have to put the money in there.
I think he came in with a lot of pressure because of that 100 million.
Yeah, but if you bought Jack for 30 million, he's probably had a good season.
Possibly.
100 million, he hasn't.
I think just...
He had a good after party, though.
Yeah. It was this expectation because there's been this hype about Grealish like a couple of years, which I never quite got, I'll be honest with you. I think he's a very good player, and I think he performed well for Villa in what he was asked to do in their team. But I never saw him as this great player that everyone was just like, oh, he's going to go to one of the top teams event, like sooner or later because he's an elite level player. I never really saw it. I thought, yeah, he's a very good player. He's got something about him, and I was surprised by the 100 million. I was surprised by it when we bought it. I thought,
think a lot down.
Especially because I was like, we need a striker. Why have we bought Grealish?
I think that's a lot down because he's English as well. So it
falls on it. I think he's grown on me, and he's grown into the season. I don't think he's been outstanding. He hasn't wowed me at any point again.
No, he hasn't.
Like the same thing I said with Mahrez. I'm just left with this feeling of I want more. Now, it was Castle back. A game where he actually, for the first time, started running at defenders.
You're thinking West Ham?
West Ham.
When we're 2-0 down.
He started running at defenders.
That second half, he was really good.
Committing them. That's his best quality. That's what he used to do at Villa all the time. He started running at defenders. It's the first time I'd see him doing it. All of a sudden I went, he's a player. He can do something for us. He can contribute if he does that. But he doesn't do it enough. Is
that down to Pep, though?
Well, I don't know. This is what I've not worked out. At first, when we signed him, I thought, right, what we've got there, what Pep's doing is brought him in, he's putting him out on the left just to get him into the team and get him used to how we play and stuff like that. And I thought eventually he might bring him back into midfield. Like he's just bringing him in and he might bring him in as a midfielder.
I thought he was going to use him as a false 9.
Well, I thought he could have done a couple of times this year. He would have been more used than some of the players we played. But yeah, he's playing him out wide, and I can actually see him staying out wide now, to be honest with you. Staying on that left-hand side. But he's got to do more. He's got to get into the box more. He's got to create more. Maybe it'll come. Maybe it'll come. Maybe it is first season syndrome, like everyone says. Maybe, next year. I think I did have this conversation a while ago, near the beginning of the season, and I defended Grealish by saying, I think what we've got to realise is, been playing for Aston Villa. Oh, not trying to slag Villa off here, but half of that time he was in the Championship. He's only had a few years in the Premier League.
Championship isn't an easy league, though.
I'm not saying it is, but it is not Premier League quality.
No, it's brutal.
It's brutal. It's different. It's different, right?
It's like Blood Bowl.
But he's barely got any international caps.
Yeah, but
so it's first time playing in European football, right? And his first time under an elite manager. Basically, for me, even though he's 25, 26 years old,
26, yeah.
He's just now learning how to be an elite footballer. And I think maybe that is taking a toll. Like, there's a lot of thinking going on with him when he's on the pitch. Like, he's thinking about where he has to be, what he has to do off the ball, who's going where, and he's having to... There's too much thinking there. Maybe, hopefully, second season will kick in. A lot of that will be more natural, and he'll be able to actually just be a bit more natural with the ball and not have to think and actually just commit players. That's all I want to see from him. I want to see him running at people and committing players.
That's what I want to see more wingers do, but they never do it. None of them do it.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. The other thing, like you're saying with the right foot or left foot thing, with us having I thought, the idea you've got a right foot and a left foot on the opposite sides, they cut back and your fullbacks overlap. You don't do that. So, I don't know.
We're a bizarre team, aren't we?
We are a strange team.
Well, I think...
Maybe we just don't understand what Pep's doing because he keeps winning the league. So
yeah, he's doing something.
Yeah.
I think with Jack, for me, now, just to go over a few points, I did see it when we bought him because I really liked him in the Championship. Yeah. I thought he was a really good player for Villa in the Championship because I always remember that game against Birmingham when he got punched in the back of the head.
Yeah, and scored the winner. Yeah,
but it wasn't just that. It was the way, like, he really impressed me in that game because I remember watching it and thinking, wow, he's just got on with it. He's not letting it get to his head. And yeah, it's his boyhood club, so that's probably going to help him as well, But for England as well, we all wanted him on the pitch because we could all see he was the better player out wide than what was already on there. And I think one of the reasons that Southgate's going to fail as a manager overall is that when he brought Jack on, I think in the semi-final, and then he took him back off again. Like he substituted him on this, and substituted him off. I'm like, what are you doing? So when we signed Jack, I was happy, but for 100 million, I think it was pushing it a little bit. You can't say Jack's worth being the first £100 million player ever in the Premier League. That's crazy. When he came in, I thought he started off quite slow. But, his interview at the end of the season when, do you see it with Sky Sports when they asked him what it's like? And he said it's actually been really hard. That it's a lot harder than he thought it was going to be. It's been tough. But he's going to try again next season.
That's what I mean about the levels raised from what he was the big man at Villa. He was running to, but that was at that level.
And I think maybe he, and you can see in his personality now, like that when he's getting drunk in the after party thing on the parade, and some of the things he was saying probably weren't the right things.
That worries me a little bit with him. He's off the pitch, and
yeah, because he had that trouble with Foden, didn't he, earlier in the season? But Foden kind of got rid of that, and he's not falling for that again.
Don't need that.
Yeah, so like I said, Jack's at a big club for the first time, and he's he's still young, he's still living his life, and I wouldn't be doing what he was doing there, but. He's enjoying life, and I think next season he might come good. I hope he does. But I think a part of where his problem was this season, and maybe a few of the other wingers, is that we had no striker. And when you're running down that left-hand side and you're running the defenders, you're thinking, what am I running at them for? Because there's no one to go to. So he had to cut back and pass it backward all the time. So maybe, there's part of that in it as well.
Do you think?
But I also think that in part, with Jack, I think he will get there, and I can't think of a player for us who's failed under Pep. No, who's not gotten better. I can't think of one. And people going about Klopp and all these great managers like Tuchel and stuff, but
Pep improves every player.
But that's what I mean. I can't think of a single player Pep's not improved, or who hasn't gone on to be a better player. And I think Jack will do that. I think he's there almost, Jack. But
do you think he presses enough?
No, but again, like at Villa, he didn't have to do that. At Villa, you sat back and you hit on the counter. We're not hitting on the counter. We're playing slow. We're dominating the possession. He's not used to that. And it's going to be interesting actually to see when Haaland comes in, how he adapts to that too. Because, we can get onto it a little bit later on, but with Haaland, obviously, he's used to hitting on the break as well and using his pace and power, but he's not going to be doing that with us.
Well, hopefully he will do a little bit. I hope we mix it up a little bit more and do... That gives us an option to break a bit quicker and not always be slow. I think we do need to mix it.
I think we need to make some. And I think with Jack, if I was to rate his season, it's honestly tough with Jack. I'm going to have to go 6. I really am, because he's not done anything. He's not wowed me. He's not lit anything. And I can't think of a game where he's been one of our top 3 performers at all. And again, it's a bit harsh, but
like you say, that West Ham game at the end of the season, he did.
No, he played really well against West Ham in the second half.
He was one of the things that got us back into that game. He was integral to that.
And the Liverpool in the FA Cup, to be fair.
Yeah.
But they're games that we were already getting smashed. And if you look at the standout moment of the season for me for Jack, and I think this is probably where his season is, how hit and miss it is the Real Madrid misses. He misses them 2 glorious chances. And that, for me, sums his season up.
One of them was cleared right off the line.
Yeah, I know, but he should have still scored it.
He should still score it, but you give the defender a bit of credit.
But that's where, for me, where my biggest memory of Jack is for this season, it's going to be that moment, and that sums up, for me, his season, which is just not quite there. Not over the line yet.
Yeah. Like you say, I don't think he wasn't... He's not been a disappointment. He's not done anything bad. He's not, he's not had a terrible season. Just not wowed, and I think... with the price tag, which, like I say, I think is a stupid way of thinking it. I think that adds to it. But
you have to mention the price tag. You can't not. Well, like I said, if it's 30 million, you'd say he probably had a good season.
No, I don't think I would.
Or for 100 million?
I don't think he's had a bad season, but I don't think he's had a good season.
Yeah.
I'd probably agree with you. Probably around a 6.
But we could have bought a left back.
Could have. Not bad without a left back.
I mean, for me, like, I want to get into last season soon. No. But yeah, that's Jack for me. Who's left? We're running out of players. We've only got a couple left, I think. We got one. Foden. Phil. He's the last one.
Phil.
I mean, who doesn't? He's born and bred blue.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
His son looks like company. Have you seen it? It's terrifying, isn't it?
It is a little bit.
So I should ask him.
It made me wonder if that's why he has his haircut the way he does to hide his.
Oh, maybe.
I mean, bit of an enigma, Phil. For me, I don't want to disagree with Pep. I'm not going to disagree with Pep. Pep clearly knows what he's doing much more than I do. He knows more about football than I do.
I hope he does.
But part of me just feels like...
You think he's using him wrong?
He's holding him back a little bit. Like that's why I want to see him in the midfield. I think... You want to
see him in the David Silva role?
Yes. Because I think he's got a magic about him that very few of our players have. Like De Bruyne obviously can do things, his passes, his crosses, the way he sees through balls, things like that. Phil doesn't necessarily. I mean, he can hit a great pass. He's got a great eye for a pass. That ball in was it the FA Cup or the ball
for Grealish?
Yeah, that was a great ball from his own half as well.
It was a good ball.
And he sometimes when he's played on the left wing, he whips balls in first time right across the 6. So he can make a pass. But I think sometimes in tight situations, players will come to him, they'll pressure him, and he'll just move the ball too quick, and he's out of there, and he disappears past people, he dances past people, he does things where I'm like, he makes me go, I get excited.
I know what you mean,
and that's what I want to see more of. And I think
against United when he's flicking the ball over Varane's head, or Lindelof, whoever it was.
I want Pep to release him. I want Pep to release the team a little bit. Like I said, this slow control thing. Sometimes you've got to use that in the game, but I think there's other times where you can just overpower teams. You can go for it a little bit, like Liverpool do in a way. Like that, just put pressure on them and go for it. Yeah, I want to see Phil released and let play, and that's one of the reasons I want him in the midfield. I think he can almost match Bernardo, not quite for energy. I think he's got the legs. There was a game he played in the midfield. In the last month or so, he was played in the midfield. And during that game, there was 2 occasions where he was getting blocks in the penalty box while the other team were trying to have a shot. So he gets about, he does the work, but then he's got magic in his feet. I just want to see the boy play. I just want to see him get on the ball as much as possible. And I think when he's out wide, taking something away from him, it's not that he can't play there. He can play on the left wing and he can do a great job. He can play on the right wing. That game against Liverpool last year at Anfield, I mean, he was probably the best player on the pitch.
He was phenomenal.
He was just brilliant coming in. He can do a job there. I think he's wasted as a false 9. Completely wasted. I think he's wasting him there. But as much as he can do something out wide, I think if you put him in the middle, I just think And I know the controversial thing is it means dropping Bernardo.
I think Phil's best position is actually that left wing, because if you look at that left wing position, no one else this season could live up to what he was doing. I think he was our best player there, in that position. And I think, he played there against Liverpool, didn't he, earlier in the season at Anfield. And, I just think he's, like I said, he's got a wonderful left foot and he's so quick on the ball. Yeah. And he's like David Silva because he just wiggles out of position. You're like, how's he done that? He's gone past 2 or 3 players.
Quick feet, he takes little touches and just...
I think, I really think his best position is probably that left wing at the moment. But I think in a couple of years, obviously when De Bruyne moves on, he's going to take up that role.
I'd have him alternating with Bernardo. I'm not saying he starts every game in the midfield. I think there's going to be games where maybe you just want Bernardo in there. It's a bit screwed. But I think there's games, teams that are down the bottom that are not as good, where we're going to have a lot of the ball.
Instead of using Gundogan, use Phil.
Yeah, use Phil, because he's got an eye for a goal. He can shoot, he can make those little passes, he can beat a man with a bit of skill. Just magic. He's just magic. Like we've said about Grealish, about Mahrez, how we just left feeling like we want more. Like they don't produce those bits of magic that get you off your feet. I feel like he does at least once every game when he plays. At
He's
least
so good.
There's at least one moment where you get excited. That's just got to treasure that.
When he'd one that did the back heel for Grealish as well against Newcastle, when he fed Sterling.
Yeah, rolled it into.
We got 2 in the injury time. Yeah, Phil's wonderful. Honestly, I love Phil. I'm going to give him 10 out of 10 every season. Even if he has a bad season, I'm going to give him a 10. I think he's wonderful.
I mean, I think this is the first season for me that he's been, been part of the first team for a good few years now. Like a solid part. Like when he first broke in, he was like Palmer was and stuff like guys this year where he was making the odd appearance. Then he became part of the squad. Now, this season is the first thing I say he's got to be on the pitch. He's got to be in the first 11.
I agree.
He's got to be in the first 11. So, yeah.
I think he's essential to
I don't know if I'd go a 10. I don't think he's had some bits of magic. I'd probably go high, probably a 9. But
I'm going to go 10. I love him. I think he's great. Like I said, I think his left wing position is probably his best role right now. But I think in a few years when De Bruyne moves on, he's going to take up that role. And he's going to be all over the pitch. He's going to be just let loose. Just do what he wants.
I'll see that.
And I think he's, I think it's nice, isn't it, to see someone come from the academy and be that good. And I think Pep holding him back for a few years has actually really helped him.
And us not sell them on. Or let them go somewhere. Or not feel like they have to go somewhere to fulfill their potential.
Well,
where could he go that's going to be better?
Well, that's why...
He's at the club that he loves.
Pep refused to loan him out, didn't he, as well? He's like, I'm not loaning him out, he's staying.
He's at the club that he loves. Got 4 Premier League titles?
Yeah.
Already? An FA Cup?
4 League Cups.
League Cups. He's been to the final of the Champions League.
He's going to have the most trophies ever the way he's going.
Possibly.
If Pep stays another 10 years, bloody hell. God knows where he's going to be. But yeah, Phil, he's phenomenal. And like I said, you need him on the team sheet. For me, he's undroppable. He really is.
He's got to be in the first 11.
He's there with Kevin, Walker, and
Rodri,
yeah, and Diaz. Obviously Edison, because...
yeah. Got to have someone sitting on the halfway line, don't you?
Yeah, unless you put Kev back there. But yeah, for me, world class and 10 out of 10 for me. Now, last couple of things. Goal of the season. I think we both agreed it was Bernardo. I love that volley, though. It's just such a good goal. It's the technique, isn't it?
When the ball went out to Jesus, and I was like, I could see Bernardo was free in the middle. I was like, get it in there, pass it in. But I expected it to be on the ground. So when he floated it through the air, I was a bit like, because he's going to have to take a touch. And then as he ran onto it, beautiful. It was a weird goal as well. It wasn't like side foot. It wasn't like smashed.
It's like the instep, wasn't it?
It was like controlled, but there was power in it as well. Yeah, beautiful.
And he's a good goalkeeper as well. That Martinez, was it?
Yeah.
He's a good keeper. That's my goal of the season as well. Your player of the season was Rodri.
Without doubt.
My player of the season. Do you know? I don't even know who I would give it to. My player of the season. Do you know what? I'm going to give it Phil.
Are you going to give it Phil?
I really think he's had a really good season with us. Like I said, I think it's the first time he's fully been ingrained in the squad where you think to yourself he's going to play every game. I'd be tempted to go as well Cancelo a little bit. I know he's not done great, but...
I think Cancelo had a good period, but I don't think he had a consistent season.
I just think he's been a mainstay for us, and I think that shouldn't be forgotten.
Phil has had a good season. I think certain players like Phil, like Kev, that suffer from a little bit from the standards and the expectation is so high.
I agree.
That even if it's a little bit, if they're a little bit below that, I mean, they're still better than most players in the league. But people go, oh, they're not having a great game. You know, it's like
when De Bruyne only gets 15 assists in a season, you like sell him. He's gone. He's done. Yeah. Season's over. Or my dad, who wants to get rid of him, legit wants to get rid of him. He drives me nuts. So I mean, okay, let's talk about the young players for a second here. Cole Palmer,
so Mahrez clone. Yeah, definitely keep him. Like I said, I feel like he was unlucky with that injury. He was just starting to get appearances.
He was.
So he fits. If Pep wants to keep playing that, sort of left-footed right winger, fits that role perfectly. I think he can possibly learn to do a couple of other positions in the team. I think he's technically very good. I think he's got an eye for a goal as well.
Another winger that lacks pace, though.
Yeah. Well, I want to see a bit more of him, to be honest. I think he's still a bit early to judge.
And what about Delap?
Delap, I wonder... I know there's talk of him going out on loan, but I wonder if Delap will get more opportunities now because he's more similar to what we're going to have, as in Haaland, as in a bigger,
He's stronger. A lot similar, isn't he?
He's a lot similar. So I feel like that sort of gives... I wonder if Pep can see that and go right, so he's sort of almost a replacement.
An understudy.
An understudy to learn and to show, and I mean, they understudy.
The same age.
Yeah, not that much difference age. But, they're very similar, so could possibly fit into the team quite well in that regard.
Because I saw Sky Sports earlier and they mentioned Alvarez coming in. It's like, oh, Haaland's a great big deal, but City fans should be excited for Alvarez. Then Alvarez is going to be a good young understudy for Haaland. I was like, he's older.
Yeah, but I think Alvarez might end up being more of a wide player.
I think he's going to take Jesus' role.
Yeah, I think he could be one of the wide forwards, basically. Do you know?
I think so. Everything I've seen of Alvarez, like you've seen his highlights, he looks phenomenal. Yeah. He looks so good.
Hard to judge with the
highlights.
Also the quality of who they're playing against. Sometimes you
can only beat who's in front of you, though.
You can. It's true. I mean, yeah. If you score a double hat trick in a game, it doesn't matter who you played against. That's impressive.
Exactly. McAtee. Yeah,
McAtee is. The first time I saw him, I thought we'd cloned David Silva. The way he moves his body, like the way he swivels on the ball, I was like, who's this guy?
He looked really good, didn't he, when he played?
He's definitely...
And he's quick as well. He's quick on the floor.
He's quick over a few yards, yeah. I think he's got that low centre of balance. Again, just want to see more of him. I think the theme with the youth for me is I want to see more of them. I want to see more. What I want to see is, as much fun as it is winning the Carabao Cup every year, I'd give it up if it meant resting a few of our first teamers, playing some of the youth players, blooding them in that. If it meant we didn't win it, but they need to get experience. They need game time. I think that's the best way of doing it.
I was shocked they didn't play Delap more this season when we had no striker, because Delap would have fitted in there.
Like, he did have a big injury, kept him out for a few months.
It did, yeah, but he couldn't have done him any worse. Like when he was fit, going in number 9 when no one else was doing that role.
Well, the only game he got in the cup, he scored, didn't he? So. I mean,
or even McAtee, if you're playing like Bernardo at number 9 when he's not going to achieve anything, and Phil at number 9 when he's not going to do anything, just put one of the youngsters in. You're not missing out on anything. You're not doing anything different.
He's very careful though, isn't he, Pep, with the youngsters? He's very slow.
Well, I think with Pep, the problem he has with the youngsters, and this is the one thing I'm going to defend him with, kind of, or at least be on his side a little bit, is that if you put a couple of youngsters on the Premier League team, and you say, okay, give them a chance, the problem is if you lose 3 games in the season now, you've lost the league. You can't lose any games in the Premier League anymore, and that's why you can't take any chances.
Pep's raised it to that.
Unfortunately, he has, yeah.
But that's why I'm saying in the Cups, play him in the Cups, give him a chance in those games where it's still a real game, it's still competitive game, especially if you're playing against a lower team.
He did it against Wickham, didn't he, in the FA Cup, and they all played really well.
Yeah, they'll come and they'll be competitive. They're not there for a day out, they're there to play. In the Premier League, maybe not, maybe just, yeah. I mean, the problem that a lot of the youngsters have got in general is the fact that the players in front of them in the first team squad are world-class players. Talking about Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Rodri, Mahrez. These guys are world-class players. So you've got to be special and you've got to perform. I think that's kind of a good thing for Pep. Pep, I don't think he... Let's just go, they're younger, I'll give him a chance. It's like, no, you've got to show me you're as good as him. And you'll earn your chance. So Yeah, I just hope he gives them a bit more time in other competitions.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. I mean, you watched the...
I'm interested to see Lavia as well. I've not seen much of it. I've seen bits of him for the...
Do you know who I was really impressed by?
For the U team. But
Esbrand, when he came on. And Riley as well. Because I think they played against Wickham. Riley played against... who did he come on for? In the league, not so long ago. He came on in the league game and he looked really good. Yeah, but them two look pretty decent in the cups as well. You know, I think they've been good this season. But I think with the youth team, I mean, you saw the Khaldun's interview, and he was saying 85% of our youth system is local talent, and that's really good. You know, so when you look at that, and you look at our Premier League 2 team, they won the league. Our under 21s won the league, and I think he said the 3 below that won the league as well. So all our youth teams are winning everything. And I think it's the first time it'd been done last year, and then we've done it again this year. So it's 2 years in a row we've done it, where we've won the top 3 competitions in all 3 categories. And you know, I think we've got a good future ahead of us. And if you look at players like Phil, McAtee, Delap,
I think
there's some talent coming through. And
they've got to be patient as well.
Well,
they've got to understand. They've got to be patient. The players.
Well, I think after you've seen what Phil's gone through, I think they will be.
Yeah, they've got to be a bit patient and understand they're not going to get 25 games a season all of a sudden. It's not going to happen like that. You've got to take time. And also, I think we've got to accept it's going to be very rare. You know, you've had these sort of very, very rare it happens. You see, obviously, you know, famously United, the class of 92, you know, you had 4 or 5 players all came together through the youth team, got into the team and played together. That very, very, very rarely happens. Barcelona, when Pep took over there, he brought through a group of young players who had all been together. But usually, look around any top team around the world, usually 1 or 2 that actually make the grade, and they're supplemented by players you buy in.
I know Southampton seem to do it.
But it's not at the top level. I'm talking about the top level. No, they're decent players, but I mean at the top level. No. When you're talking about elite football,
Champions League level,
it's very hard. So yeah, I hope we get to see a bit more of them, and then we'll be able to judge more whether they deserve to be in our team at that level, or you know, if they're going to end up.
Okay, last 3 things. How'd you rate Pep this season? A lot of people are saying he's a failure because he didn't win the Champions League again. Now, I've got my thoughts on the Champions League, and I'll be right straight up with it. Is for me, your week in, week out competition is the league. I want to win the league more than the Champions League. The Champions League for me is another cup that you either win or you don't.
The way I always say it is, so the Champions League, the cherry on the cake. The league is the cake. If you don't have a cake, you just have a cherry.
I'd rather be known as champions of England than champions of Europe, though, week in, week out.
Yeah, the best team wins the league.
Yeah,
it's about consistency.
Yeah, it's
about performing again and again and again and again and again. That's how you know who the best players are as well. Best players don't do it once. They don't score a wonder goal and disappear. They don't do 4 assists in their first game in the Premier League and then you never see them again. They do it week in, week out, week in, week out. That's what top players do. That's what top teams do. So, yeah, no, the league is always the best judge of the best teams for me. The Champions League...
I'm hearing a lot of people recently say that, like, again on BT Sports, saying that Liverpool were the best team in Europe. And I'm like, mate, they didn't even win the competition.
Michael Owen said that.
Yeah, they didn't even win the league.
Ferdinand shut him down, to be fair. It was like, they didn't win the Champions League either. They didn't win the league or the Champions League.
Ferdinand said we were. I was like, oh, there's a shock. Well, you know, it's like it's going to say Real Madrid.
I do think... Finally, we are at that level. Like, it got accelerated for some reason. All of a sudden, we're expected to just win the Champions League
it
straight away.
4 years ago, when everyone's like, "Oh, now say your favourites." Like, why?
We won the league a couple of times, and then all of a sudden it was like, "Oh, you've got to win the Champions League now." It's like, well, 1 minute, you know. It took like Ferguson 10 attempts or something in the Champions League. You know? And in 20 odd years, he only won 2.
We've only been in the Champions League 12 years as well.
Wenger was, 15 years at Arsenal in the Champions League every year. Only got to the final once. You know, it doesn't happen like that. You've got to build. I'd finally say we've got to the level now where we are the dominant team in this country.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. Next season, at the start of the year, anyone with any sense will say, if you finish above City, you'll win the league. Because we're the best team.
Did you expect us to win the league this year? I didn't.
I knew it'd be close.
I put Chelsea on top.
No, I thought we'd be in there. I thought Chelsea would be in the fight more than they were. They turned out, I don't know what happened there.
When we beat them, they just dropped in there.
I think we'll always be there or thereabouts. Definitely, yeah. As long as Pep's here, we will always be there or thereabouts. Unless we have like a couple of major injuries. Like if we lost like De Bruyne and like Laporte, we said a couple of years ago like that. If we lost like a couple like that, although now we could probably cover Laporte. But yeah, unless I always expect us to be there now because I think we're at that level now, and I think when you get to that level, then it starts. Now you start thinking about the Champions League. It's adding that cherry, like I said. We're back-to-back champions again. We're the best team in the country. We've been to the Champions League final. We've been to the semi-final.
It's consistent.
We're there. We're almost there. I feel like it will happen sooner or later. If you'd ask me, would I prefer to win the Champions League or the League? League.
100% for me. And as City fans, of course.
Next year, I want to win the League.
It's not like we've got a good friendship with UEFA anyway.
No.
Exactly. So, I mean, and look what they're doing to Liverpool at the moment as well. So, I mean...
I think the thing with the being a disappointing season, I think that's part and parcel, like we said, of the bar being raised.
Yeah, I'll agree.
Now the bar is raised that we're expected to win multiple trophies.
Yeah, we only won the league.
What
a shit season.
Yes, how disappointing.
Sack Pep.
Yeah. No, we're the best team in the league. It's the main trophy to win. It's been a successful season.
I think it's massive that we made the semi-final of the Champions League.
I also think this is Liverpool's best team. I think it's been better. I think it's been building and building. The team they've got this year, and Klopp as well, I think they've pushed us so hard. I didn't expect Liverpool to be as close to us.
We've done really well to stay ahead of them.
Yeah. So that's why I think this league, I think that kind of took a toll on the other competition. This league is, it's really, really impressive. So no, it's not a disappointing.
Right, so what if it's not a disappointing season, what's your highlight of the season?
5 minutes.
Enough.
Those 5 minutes against Villa.
My highlight...
Either that or the fight against Atletico.
Well, I was going to say, my highlight is Atletico tie, because I think against Atletico we've shown a lot more physicality than we used to. We played differently. We're a
lot more of a physical team now. Yeah, bigger players.
I mean, and you look at how well Phil did as well. Like, he got battered across them ties. Yeah, and he did really well, and the players fought for each other, and you saw how much they really cared about each other, the way they celebrated. And
it was also mature because we didn't snap, we didn't give in to their bits. I mean,
they were really dirty.
We had a little bit about us back in the day. I mean, Aguero, you remember Aguero had a couple of...
That 2-4 challenge on David Luiz, yeah.
Which one? He did about 3 on David Luiz. But yeah, the red cards. Fernandinho had a few where he snapped and went for people.
If Balotelli was still in the
same
team.
game where he got Fabregas by the throat.
Oh, he threw him over the board, yeah.
So we could get wound up in the past, whereas I thought we were very mature in that game. We just didn't bite, we didn't give into it.
I just thought we were brilliant in them 2 ties, and I do think that really cost us the FA Cup. And I thought it was going to cost us the league because the injuries we came out with. Because they weren't playing football at Atletico Madrid.
No.
They were disgusting.
It was ridiculous. There was a 10-minute spell in that second leg at their ground. There was a 10-minute spell where they did play football, and they scared me. I thought, they're going to score. And then they stopped again. And I was like, why? Afterwards, all I could think was, why didn't they play like that over the 2 legs? Because they might have lost, but they would have given us a game. The way they played was a guaranteed loss.
It's like when you're losing at school and you're just kicking each other. Well, I mean, I think with the Spanish media at the end of it saying they were champions and heroes for playing that way, and I'm like, you're just disgusting. Like,
I mean, I spoke to a Spanish friend after that game, and I said to him, like, he's not an Atletico fan, so he didn't really care. We weren't backing him up. I was like, surely that, like, they should be disappointed. Like, they were the current champions of Spain at that point. They were the reigning champions. I was like, that's the champions of Spain. That's how they play. That's how they behave. It's like, that's pathetic. That's embarrassing.
I said at the time during the watch-along day, it was an embarrassing thing.
It was an embarrassment. Yeah, shocking.
And I think when you come into the Etihad and he defended the fact that his team didn't have a single shot the whole game, and he said that they only stopped us scoring 2, and it's like, mate, that's not how you play. Again, you're looking at the champions of Spain. How's that like an advertisement for your league? But yeah, I thought that was the highlight of my season because I thought we were brilliant across that tie, and I do think it cost us a few players.
It was very good, very intense. Yeah.
And I think if it was flipped and Liverpool had them, I don't think they would have done as well.
Might be, but I feel like it would have took a toll on them. Well, it would have took a toll the way it did on us.
Well, and I've also got credit as well because after them games, we bounced back and we're still winning in the league. We're coming back even though with those injuries, those kicks. We're coming back on winning our league games because we have to.
Mentality.
So yeah, the players and the
mentality monsters, I believe. Yeah, catchphrase.
Yeah, the players and Pep, they deserve a lot of credit, and I give them 10 out of 10 for that as well. I think they've all been fantastic. And as for next season, hopes?
Win the league again.
If we win it 3 times in a row, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
Well, that's the next thing. Yeah. I mean, the only team that's done that is United under Fergie.
Who? Don't know who they are, mate.
So yeah, I'd hope
You got to make us favourites, right?
I want a Pep extension.
Yeah, his contract runs out next season, doesn't it?
Yeah, I want a Pep extension. I don't want to go into next season not knowing.
Yeah, but he did this to us last time.
And that's a bit thingy. That's a bit of a worrying situation.
He's already been there 7 years now, though.
I do trust our board. That they've
not let us down yet.
They've got some sort of idea and plan in place. Like, even if he does extend, the fact is, even if he stays for like 5 more years, at some point he's going to leave.
Yeah. Well, who'd you replace him
And I
with?
hope they're thinking about that.
Arteta.
Yeah, you don't know who's going to be about at that time, but I hope they're at least planning and thinking about life after him. But yeah, I'd like to get it. I'd like an extension for Pep before the season begins. And then win the league.
I think signing Haaland's actually quite huge in that regard, because I think they would have had to tell him who the manager's going to be, and I don't think he would have came if he thought Pep was only going to be there 1 season. Because a massive attraction to City, regardless of how you see it, is Pep.
A lot of players.
It's Pep, because they can see that he improves every single play. And I think when you sign Haaland, because Madrid were after him, Barcelona were after him, Liverpool, United, everyone was after him, and he's come to us. And you got to think Pep's going to be there more than once, because otherwise he wouldn't have come.
Trust.
So I think that's a good sign for us. As for Haaland and Alvarez, I'm more excited for Alvarez, personally. I think he looks like a real talent. Although I think Haaland, like I said, he changes the way we're going to play. But I think Haaland's used to just taking one-shot finishes and scoring with his first touch of the ball. And with us, obviously, he's going to have a lot more touches.
The thing...
But for 51 million...
He's been very clinical so far.
That's a steal.
Yeah, he's been very clinical so far in his career, like Dortmund and all that. His ratio is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's almost Messi and Ronaldo levels of a goal every game. It's getting up there.
I think he only scored 2 goals less than he played.
Yeah, so, I mean, if he can maintain anywhere near that playing for us, then...
Mate, if he gets 20 goals, that's better than any of our players have done over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just nice to have a striker back.
There is, I think Caldoon said it in his interview that supposedly he said a couple, did he say a couple more signings?
Well, they asked him if he was going to make any signings, and he said he wants to make it quickly.
Yeah, he said he wants a couple more.
So, I mean, positioning, left back?
Left back.
DM?
So, yeah. Yeah, that's the 2, isn't it? That is the 2.
And if Riyad and Sterling go, and Jesus, if we lose 2 or 3 of those,
well, it depends how many goes. Left back is an essential.
Absolutely,
an actual natural
quick
fullback,
a
fullback, someone who's an actual fullback. The rumour of Cucurella from Brighton. I mean, I'd not heard much before this sort of last 2 months. And I don't pay that much attention to Brighton, I'll be honest with you. I like the way they play. I think Potter's a good manager, actually. I think he's a very good manager. But I don't pay that much attention, so I hadn't really heard much about him. From what I've seen, mainly when he played against us, he's got something about him. And I know, did he come through the Barcelona Academy? I actually
don't know.
I think he came through the La Masia Barcelona Academy, so I think that's obviously a tie-in to Pep and stuff like that, how they think about him. He's interesting. It depends how much we pay for him. I'd be interested in that one.
I just can't see us paying another 50 million for a fullback we're not going to play.
No, well, I think if we do get a natural left back, I think he does play.
I do as well. I think. I mean, if you look at we buy a left back, because a lot of the thing that people say that really winds me up is like, say you have 3 world-class 11 teams. We don't.
No, we don't.
We have 15 players, and every one of them players plays in 6 positions, and that's why we look so good all the time. Because, like I said, we've got Stones playing across 3 positions. We got Zinchenko playing 2 positions. We got Foden who plays across 5. We got De Bruyne who can play across anywhere he wants. Sterling as well. Jesus, Bernardo, Gundogan. All these players playing different positions, and people don't respect that really. So I mean, if we sign a left back, we've got a winger coming in, we've got a striker coming in. I mean, can you see us getting rid of players like Zinchenko? See us getting rid of players like maybe Bernardo goes this season. I can't see how you drop Bernardo, but
I'd rather not lose Bernardo. I said that before. I think if we were going to lose anyone from midfield, I think it'd be Gundo. And then I think it'd be bringing in someone who can cover Rodri more as his replacement. That would be the replacement.
Do you think Calvin Phillips is a good? Because everyone's talking about Calvin, but I don't see him coming in as a backup to play 5 games.
I can see it. I can see it, and I can see him working. To be honest with you, I like how coming from that Bielsa ball, that high intensity, high energy football. I like that about him. The physicality. So I think that's something that we could do with. I think he'd get a little bit more game time than that. I think he would cover Rodri, but I could also see, him coming on when we need to shut games down. A second player in midfield who's just got that energy.
Up against United.
Could just go in and shut things down and really get about the pitch. I mean, when he plays for England, or when he was playing for England in the Euros, he was playing with Rice as a second midfield. Rice was the holding player and he was getting about the pitch more. And he's actually a reasonably good player. So I could see him coming in. I could see him doing a job. And I could see Pep improving him. I also think he's not young. He's 27, 28, I think he is. It's a chance, possibly his only chance, his last chance to play at the top level, to play Champions League football. So I could see it as an opportunity for him, even if it is going to be mainly as a backup. I still think that's an opportunity for him that could work. I think that can work for everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd take that. Apart from that, I don't know, it is going to be a backup role, mainly, isn't it? So
surely any player we sign is going to be a backup role.
Yeah, so you're not going to be looking at any sort of big name superstar players, are you? You're looking at people who are either up and coming, or someone like Phillips, like I say, who maybe is coming up a level, who wants to do that. I'd take those two, Cucurella and Phillips. I think they could complement the team. And
you think that shuts up the team for next season and we're ready to go again?
Depending on pretty much, depending on who goes out. But I think, more or less, I think then we can cover pretty much every position 2 players. You've got a backup for every position. You've got Cucurella, Zinchenko, you've got Walker, Cancelo, Stones, Diaz, Ake. Bring in someone to cover for Rodri. Midfield, you've got Kev, you've got Bernardo. I would play personally Foden in midfield as well. Gundo, maybe if he stays. If not, Jack can play in there. You've got players who can do a job. Jack can play out wide. Alvarez can play out wide if you need him to. You can also back up Haaland. You've got Mahrez. Sterling or Jesus, I feel. One or the other.
I think we can go into next season with a lot of hope and a lot of things to look forward to. I mean, not just because of Haaland, but because of the team in general. Like I said, we've won the league again, and I don't think we've got this ain't our strongest team we've had in the last few years. This is actually quite a weak team, if you ask me. And I think if you look at...
It's been a fight this year.
If you look at other squads, I think Chelsea and Liverpool have better squads than us. I think they have stronger squads, but I just think the players we've got...
Liverpool's squad is very impressive this year. That's why I said this is their strongest team, because they can bring players off the bench and improve the team, whereas I feel like years gone by, they mainly their first 11, and then behind that wasn't as strong. Chelsea's a very strange thing, because they've got a big squad and they've got a lot of supposedly good players, but it just doesn't. It never quite seems to work. So
yeah, it's because I think Tuchel's a bit too defensive for them. I think that's what it is. I think they've got too many defensive-minded players.
I think he's a good manager, but I think they will have. It'd be interesting to see what they're in a bit of turmoil with the takeover happened there. Obviously, that's been completed, but I don't know how they're going to.
Rumours Lewandowski's interested in going. That'll be an interesting one.
He'd be better than Luke.
I'd be better than Lukaku.
It's another position.
I'll get a statue of Chelsea.
Yeah, you'd have centre forward for Chelsea as well.
I'll get around a bit. I'll play for everyone. If you're watching, sign me Tuchel. I'll play. Just put me in the middle.
That pretty much covers us, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, last note is just was Phil Foden and De Bruyne worthy player of the season? Because there's a lot of hate for those candidates.
From for the Premier League Player of the Year?
There was a lot of hate.
Well, they kept giving Salah Player of the Year when we were winning the league and Kev was the best player in the
league.
Who
was, you're right, yeah.
Like, I think, was it last year Salah got it and the year before?
I think Carl Doon came out, didn't he, in an interview, and he said when they asked him about Kevin not getting it, he said, well, it's unfair because Kev's been the best player.
Yeah, he blatantly was head and shoulders. I didn't care how many goals Salah scored. He wasn't as good as
Wasn't that when he broke the assist record as well?
Yeah, he got up there, didn't he? So yeah, so I'll take it. I mean, I'm always a bit thingy with individual awards in football. It's a team sport anyway. I think
it's all political, isn't it? It's like the Ballon d'Or. It's like the Eurovision.
It's all stupid, to be honest with you. You can't win without the team. You know, you can't do it. It's a team game. But yeah, I'll take Kev getting Player of the Year because the best player in the league. So
and Phil's won Young Player of the Year for the second year running.
That's a weird one because I don't like.
Well, I just gave him Player of the Year for us.
No, because he's still young, right? But I don't feel like he's young anymore. You know, he's been with us. He's been in the part of the first team squad for like 5 years.
Like I said, he's got 4 Premier League medals. Yeah, that's crazy.
I feel like it's strange him getting Young Player of the Year, but I can't argue with it. I mean, consistency wise, there's been good shot. I think Saka was good at Arsenal. Gallagher
I like Gallagher a lot.
He's a good player.
He took the piss out of us as well.
Yeah, he's a very good player, and he's had a very good season. I think either of those could have won it, but were they as consistent across the whole season? And they weren't playing at the level that
it's true.
It's at an elite level every week. You've got to perform. So yeah, I can't argue with either of those.
Actually, I've got one last thing to mention. So next year the World Cup's in December, which nobody wants, by the way, because I think it's shocking and it's clearly corrupt. But if I go missing tomorrow, you know who did it. But what I will say is that if you look at our last 2-3 seasons, our best period has been between November and January. We've gone on winning streaks for Christmas, the hardest period, but we won't get this. But we won't get this now because the World Cup's going to be there, so we're not going to be playing from November like the 12th till Boxing Day. So our best time of the season is gone. So
my worry about it, but I mean, I suppose it's the same for every team, obviously. Just going to be worrying about players coming back with injuries halfway through a season.
I'm not in the frame of mind.
Well, yeah, it's going to be, like you say, that period we have, usually it's because you get momentum. You build into
Every
a season,
3 days.
you build into it, you play week after week after week, and you start to get a feeling for it, and you know they're chasing us or we've got to get
no
this game.
international break either.
Yeah, it just builds. And all of a sudden, we're going to play for a few months, and then there's going to be this big break. And it's just going to cut all the momentum. I mean, by the time the league comes back after Christmas, everyone's going to start looking at league tables and going, "Oh, what happened? Is this still the same season?" You know,
it's actually Boxing Day, the game back.
So
weirdly, Boxing Day.
It's weird. It's just weird all round. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't have happened.
Shouldn't be happening.
I think it's disgusting.
And they should have realised before they awarded it to Qatar that it was impossible to play it in the summer, in the desert.
But it's gonna.
What a surprise!
But I think it's going to massively impact our season.
Well,
because we've been the best team over that period for the last 3 seasons.
It's definitely something to think about. I hadn't thought about it that way. That has been the most important part of the season. I think it generally is in the Premier League. I think that.
Well, this season we won 12 games in a row.
The meat of the season, isn't it?
Through November and January, we won 12 games in a row. Yeah. The season before it was 18, like that. And now we're not going to have it. So,
like I said, you just hope for no injuries. Really. I mean, the weird thing is, back in the day, you would have thought, well, at least all the English lads will be back early because England will get knocked out. But nowadays, we do quite well. So we could actually, we could be missing quite a few of our players until the latter stages of the tournament. You'd think that, obviously, we've got Kev with Belgium. You've got Laporte with Spain as well. You've got the Portuguese lads. There's going to be quite a few of our squad that are going to be...
yeah, you're just hoping. Yeah. So hopefully, I mean... So I guess that the important thing is to get off to a really good start the season and not actually lose our first game for once.
We seem to have been slow starters. We always seem to sort of... I don't know if that's part and parcel of how we...
But like I said, I think it's down to momentum. I think it's down to the more they play together because the international breaks through the summer and early season, and then when they get back at Christmas, when Pep actually gets them full time, bang. But
yeah, we'll see.
We need an early start because I think if we're like 6-7 points off the top going into that international break for the World Cup, I think we could be in trouble.
You've already written next season off.
You heard it here first. We're done. Game over for us.
Don't watch next year. It's gone.
We're finishing 6th.
Sack Pep.
Get rid of him.
On the board.
Get rid. Haaland, worst signing ever. My God. Bring Jesus back. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Any last messages before we head off? It's been fun, hasn't it? It's been good.
I made the Scousers cry.
Okay, I made the Scousers cry. I'll never forget. I'm going to go watch the highlights right now. Been watching them on
15th time today.
Been watching them on repeat, man. I love it. I've even been listening to the radio, when going back to like Talk Sport and that, listening to that day. It's been wonderful. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for chilling out with us. It's been fun. Been a successful season.
It has been a success, despite what they say.
Despite what they say, and Pep's not a failure. Don't worry about the Champions League. We didn't want it anyway. Make sure to hit the like button and
Mickey
subscribe.
Mouse Cup, mate. Mickey Mouse Cup.
It is when the Scousers win it. Well, when we win it, everyone's like, Mickey Mouse. When the Scousers win it, they've got a fucking parade. They've got a parade for the League Cup, and when we win, it's like it's a joke anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out, and see you again.